I'll call to order the April 22nd Carroll County Board of Commissioners meeting. Would you join me for a pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, oh, you changed the order of things.
It is?
Yeah, usually we do the approval and then the media questions.
Whoops.
I
Okay.
think, maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
In any case, are there any media questions? Are there any public input?
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt again. How do we make sure that the people that are up there didn't have a public comment? Since we're in the public comment period. I guess you could ask them or something.
Yeah, didn't you type a message to ask last week if there was any public input?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, David. Yes,
I
David.
think, I'm not sure, but I think you have to announce when the meeting starts who's on, who the board is on electronically, or every.
I think what we did last time was we said everybody that was on there, I think. But,
Could you call on Joe? He has a public comment. Not Joe here, there's another Joe here.
okay, wait a minute, let's tend to what Dave was saying. So if we can go through and let everybody identify themselves,
Okay.
so that way we know. Dave Babson is here on video. Bob Murray is here on video. Howard Chandler's here on video. Joe Costello, the treasurer, is here and on video. Lisa Scott is here on video. Susan?
Susan's on mute.
Not anymore.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're just identifying who we have on the camera.
Right, thank you. I heard you, but I was unable to mute when I was trying to, but now I am, and this is Susan Tyser, so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Who's next? Joe?
Hello.
No, another Joe.
That may be your public comment.
Joe Haas is here.
Yes.
Joe?
Is he muted on our end?
No, he's not. I can read his public comment if you'd like.
Okay, Jason Henry's also on. And why don't you come sit right over here and I'll move over. Carrie just got here. I think that's 6 feet.
That's her packet. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you, sorry I'm late. Okay, and we still have somebody named Joe, who I don't know who that is.
It's Joe Haas, whoever he is, or Joey Haas. I guess it's Joie, so we think it would be a female.
Well, they have a public comment, don't they?
Yes.
Yes, and he's typed a public comment. He doesn't have maybe a microphone.
Oh,
He's asking if he can call in on the landline, and I said yes.
Did you give him this number here?
It's with the Zoom instructions, so he must have that. Let's see.
5399. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Linda.
We're still getting accustomed to all of this. I'm gonna rob the bank so I can go visit Jason.
Where is he? Oh,
Gotcha. Can't tell if people smile at my jokes or not anymore.
who we have up there? Oh, we have Bob and Amanda and David.
Not working.
I'm just trying to help Joe get his phone in access. I'm going to ask him for his.
It is Joe, not Joey.
That's one of the reasons we're doing this whole Zoom thing, is so we can have public comment. So Joe, please be patient with us. We want to hear what you have to say.
Since everybody has masks on, just try to speak up so we can hear.
No, I took my temperature.
You did?
Yeah. And I'm like 97.4, so I'm going the other way.
Sound like radio
A little
station.
cold-blooded this morning, are we? Okay.
All right, I've asked Joe Haas to call in to the business office for the instructions that he can use to call in on his phone, because apparently he doesn't have those instructions, and I don't want to give the password out over Zoom. So maybe you could come back to Joe's comment when he figures
Well,
out.
it's my understanding that if we can't take public comment, we're not supposed to have the meeting. Is that correct?
Well, he can communicate with us, so as long as the public can communicate with us, I think you can keep going. He's communicating by text. I think he would just like to say something, so I'm trying to help him figure out how to say something. But we're communicating with him, so clearly he has access to the meeting. I think you're okay.
That's not the comment. The comment, the law says that they have to be able to make their comment. Can he type his comment in?
He did. Would you like?
He already has.
Yep, he did.
It's right there in front of you under the Zoom chat.
David, I cannot see that. I'm
What-
sorry, it's blurred. It's like.
Okay, it says RSA chapter. I think Joe doesn't type very often. There's a chapter and then a number, but that doesn't coincide with anything I've seen in my experience. Please, for, and there's another typing error, give county employees a choice, like the governor spread the state money around to different banks. Joe Hart. I don't understand. That's his comment, but I don't understand it.
20, what is it, 27?
He's talking to Laura right now, so hopefully he can figure out a way to join us, or to speak to us. He's already joining us. He's here.
How come he's on our screen?
Perhaps he doesn't have a microphone on his computer and he needs to call in by phone like some other people have had to do.
What was that RSA that he had on there?
I can't read it. I can't see. It's all foggy from where I am, fuzzy.
275-43.
You said it.
As I said, he's not an experienced typer, because that doesn't make any sense. That's not a chapter. Might be 27, but the section or after that, you can't tell what it is.
Hello, did we get somebody new?
No.
No. So this phone here is on those instructions.
Yes. Yes. The, this up here is the information that Joe needs behind me on the board. But
Who is typing?
I don't know. Somebody should be on mute.
Okay, no more from Joe.
Wait for him. Here. Do you want to come back to him, or?
I feel really uncomfortable about going on if we have someone trying to make a comment and they can't for some reason.
Okay.
Because I think the law about this whole thing is if you can't have public comment, if the public can't make a comment. But I guess what David read is a comment. I guess he's had proper amount of time.
And I've also asked Laura to text me if anybody calls in that's having problems, and I haven't received any text from her yet, so I'm in touch with her.
Okay. Can we at least approve the minutes from April 15th? I'll wait a motion to approve the minutes for April 15th.
So moved.
I'll second. Oh, I can't because I wasn't here.
You're right, I'll second it. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, roll call please to accept.
Sure. Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard?
Yes. And Terry has to abstain because she was absent.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe, what was the manifest approval for April 17, 2020?
Did I send that to you?
Sorry, Joe, I don't have the 17th. I don't think. No?
I'll get that for you in just a moment.
Okay. And Howie, where are you? Howie? Oh, there you go. Today is Mountain View's day for their report for the past couple of months. How is everything going over there?
Yes, it is. You know, despite the COVID-19 preparations and response, we're doing very well.
Are you getting the supplies you need, Howie?
Well, we're not getting the supplies we need, but we're getting the assurances that we need. Through Ray Bauer, we communicated directly with Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Laurie Chivinette, and she assured us that because of the recent resupply the state has received these past 2 weekends, that they are keeping a strategic reserve that would be available to any nursing home in the event that we had a positive case. And while that's good news, we're not hanging our hat on that and relenting in our efforts to get our own supply in-house. With much thanks to Edie Damaris, chairman of the legislative delegation, she put us in touch with a local importer who is assisting us in getting direct resupply. And with any luck, that could be as soon as this week.
Did you also get in touch with Representative John McDonald?
I did,
Okay.
and got back to him and explained to him exactly the process of how the state is handling distributions, which is actually very well thought out. They do it on the basis of two things, the most important being immediate need. They're putting the supplies where people have identified cases, and they're also allocating the rest based on what your usual usage had been previous. So they are ensuring that the critical supplies go where they're most needed at the time.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we interrupted your report, I'm sorry.
Jason's got a question though.
Jason? Jason?
Jason,
Howie, are you putting orders in through DHHS every week?
We are, and because because we don't have any identified cases, we've had no positive staff and no positive residents. We're low on the totem pole, so we get 100 or so masks. We get dribs and drabs, and that's a help, but it's only about a 2-day supply. Our goal is to have a 14-day supply on stock at all times, in stock at all times.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes?
I mean, we're picking some more up today, Howie, and what I've been finding at some other counties is if the jail, the nursing home, and the sheriff, we all jump onto the order together, that we're able to get a much larger supply. So maybe we want to talk offline afterwards and put one in together to see how that works out. It seems to be working out. I know Merrimack County did it. I think there are 2 other counties I talked to that they're all combining it together and getting more.
Worth a try. We can't.
Okay,
There's
I'll get
nothing
together with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Howie, now for your report.
And you should have received the written report, and I apologize that it's relatively short, but I wanted you to have something for the record other than the video record here. Of course, first and foremost is COVID-19 response. We've been working on a number of different things, supplies being one of them, but also working, in terms of what the state has with federal money put together is essentially a stipend for frontline healthcare workers, and we're working closely with that. We received some final guidance on that just late yesterday, so that program will start actually this payroll week. And with much thanks to Kathy Armstrong, who last Friday moved mountains and earth so that we could get the information we needed. We submitted our application on Friday, and so that we are now in good standing. Commissioner.
David?
Howie, thank you, Madam Chairman. Is this the $300 a week extra for people working in essential jobs?
It's $300 a week for full-time. Right now, the program is only for health care. I know the hope is to expand it to other essential workers, notably House of Corrections and law enforcement.
Okay.
Right now, it's only nursing homes.
Well, Madam Chairman, are you going to call the Association of Counties and discuss this situation with them? Because as I see it, this money will come to us and go in the general fund. We will take it out of salaries to pay these people, and before we know it, we're going to be overspent on our salary lines at the nursing home. And we have to find out what we're going to do about it ahead of time, not when we're in the middle of it.
That was not my interpretation. Is that your interpretation, Howard?
No, my understanding is, and I would have to defer to Kathy Armstrong on this, is that it would come out of a line item identified as COVID. And so the money would come in from the state, be deposited on the revenue side into a COVID stipend account, and be paid out of and be expensed out of a COVID fund. Now, the implication to the county, though, is the 7% of the FICA. The state, we cannot reduce the amount that goes to the staff member by that 7%. Their amount will be reduced by a little over 7% for withholding, and actually more, withholding in FICA. So they pay their own, but we still will owe the county portion. Now, my hope is, and expectation is, that we will be able to also get the county reimbursed for that out of other COVID county expense monies.
Okay, well, if we put in a line item for revenue from the virus and then spend the $300 per person out of the same line in expenses, we're all set. But if we don't do that, I think there's a problem.
Well, that was my understanding that the money was coming in before we spent it. Is that right, Howard?
That
It
is
doesn't
correct.
make any difference, Madam Chairman. It's where it goes.
I'm sorry, David, I missed that. What?
I said, it doesn't make any difference when it comes in, it's where it goes. If it goes into the general fund and we don't have a virus line item and we pay it out of salaries before we know it, we're gonna be, or somewhere during the latter part of the year, we're gonna be way over on our salary line. So we have to have either a covert revenue line and a covert coronavirus expense line, or we're going to be in trouble. I have to do something different.
I believe that's the way they're gonna set it up. That's the way Kathy's setting it up. But I will check with her and make sure.
Correct, it'll be a wash account. We will not distribute the money until it's literally received from the state, so that we won't be borrowing from the salary line. It'll be from the COVID line. And
Correct.
just so that you know, by way of expense, we projected it, we were hopeful that this might take effect 2 weeks ago. So we submitted for an April 11th payroll. That payroll, with the $150 for part-time and $300 for full-time, would actually have totaled $47,000, $47,700 of money that would be coming into the county once received, then distributed via payroll to the staff members.
Is that for 1 week, Howard?
That's for 1 week.
Thank you.
It's a lot of money.
Do that.
Close to 50,000. Joe, you had a comment?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to ask Howie a question if I could.
Certainly.
Howie, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, Joe.
So, I haven't researched this, but I was sort of under the impression that this was going to be a $300 stipend to those people who qualified for it, and we were not worried about taxes or any of the deductions. It was going to be a straight stipend to them with no deductions.
No, in fact, I have the guidance that came in at 4 o'clock yesterday is very clear about that. It is not going to be subject to retirement. It's not going to be subject to workers' comp, but it is subject to FICA, which is Medicare.
Okay.
So it will be treated as ordinary income, but there will be no, the New Hampshire retirement system is released any claim to it.
Okay, very good. I just wasn't sure about that, Howie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please continue, Howie, with your report.
Any other questions about COVID related? I only want to summarize by saying we've enjoyed tremendous support from not only the commissioners but from the community. It's been great to see, and it's kept us safe. Our staff have been champs. They've been wonderful dealing with so many changes, and our residents have been very tolerant and understanding and appreciative.
David, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am, and thank you. Howie, what was Representative McDonald's question? You said you answered it, but never said what the question was.
The question was, and it was passed to me by Chairman Bavard, that he was just asking, I think, how the state made their allocations of personal protective equipment. And I sent them a kind of a response outlining exactly how the state did it, and didn't hear back from him, so I assumed it was satisfactory.
Thank you.
He was concerned as to whether we were getting enough of the personal protection equipment that we need. Okay.
The second thing I have for you is affordable assisted living. I believe it was your thought at the last meeting to have Roxy back next week or the week after in order to provide kind of an executive summary, kind of a summarized version of the long report along with recommendations for future action. And if that is still your thinking, I'll be glad to pass that word along to her. I know that's what I have her expecting, so it would not be a surprise to her. But I defer to you for whether you want her back next week or the week after.
Well, David had some thoughts he wanted to share about that. David?
Well, as I said last week, the concern with putting a facility in North Conway was competing against Merriman House or the hospital or one of them up there, but yet there was no concern whatsoever about the facility that Taylor Taylor, whatever they call themselves, Taylor Housing or Taylor Authority, and the one on 109A that was totally owned by the hospital up until recently, there was no mention of competing against them.
No, in
And
fact,
of course, if you build one in Ossipee, the one you're going to compete against, well, the two are those two because they're the closest.
and I have passed word on to Roxy to get that clarified. For these purposes, I've clarified that the Sugar Hill Retirement Community, which was partially owned, 51% owned by Huggins, Huggins has sold their interest to Taylor. So it's one and the same property. Now, I can't speak for Roxy, but from my perspective, in terms of competition, knowing how Sugar Hill is run and how Taylor runs their operation, they're looking at the very high end of continuing care retirement community. So they want to take the entrance fees with the $300,000 and $400,000. So while that's a factor, it's not a major concern for us doing affordable assisted living. But that's something that I think you need to hear from Roxy and her own consultants too. And she'll have a response for that next week or the week after. But you were right to point that out. That was, and they knew about that ahead of time because I shared that information with them. So they do. Merriman House, on the other hand, is much more likely to be of an affordable nature, and we wouldn't want to compete head-to-head in the same market area with them.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir. David?
All of a sudden, I haven't had my hands anywhere near my computer, and all of a sudden I get a window that says Zoom, and everybody's gone. Did somebody hit a button there?
You broke it.
No?
I didn't touch mine.
I don't know.
Are you still, you just can't see anybody, right?
No, it's just a big page that says Zoom. Then there's a thing that says help or support or in the language, and that's it. Well, this is what you get when you start, and for some reason it's back again. So I'll start pushing buttons.
Look at the
Oh,
bottom of it.
I'd also like to have Rosie come back, maybe with John, and explain. I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how this is going to be paid by the residents and not cost the taxpayer anything. If you take them in as private citizens, they pay down, and now they go on Medicaid, and that's when somebody has to make up the difference. I just didn't understand how we got from having the facility to costing us nothing, and I'd like another explanation.
Joe, you have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mention, I did talk with John about the projections and about that very topic, Commissioner Babson, about the people that came in as private pay, and then what happened after their proverbial assets were gone, and did they become Medicare, and all of a sudden the county has to pick up some of the tab. John had a good explanation for that. Well, he did take that into account. I also spoke with Howie about this too. And Howie, you can chime in if you like. I do feel reasonably confident with the numbers that were provided. I know John is an expert on the projections and so forth in that terminology, and I know he's done a fair amount of research on it. However, it's like anything. It is a projection, and based on the best guess estimate, if you could or would, I believe, and Howie again, chime in please, I believe the idea is as some of those patients sort of slip over to the, Howie, what would you call it, the other, into the nursing home, if you will, from assisted living, that there's others coming in to the assisted living at the same time. So what you have is you have a rolling cycle. And it appears that the population in the county, particularly in the southern half of the county, does have room for that. Would you say that's a fair statement, Howie?
That is, and I follow that with the fact that there are 3 other counties that have assisted living, Rockingham, Cheshire, and Merrimack. And when you take a quick look at their numbers, they actually carry themselves and pay for themselves. So what we're talking about is it's a little unusual, but it is certainly it's been tested. It is being tested within other counties at the present time. It's a bit more of a challenge with new construction, and that's why we need to have John's projections. And initially it's going to rely on being heavier on private pay than I might like. But that's also what makes it possible for those without money to be able to come in and at the same time not rely on taxpayers' money to do it.
Again, that was one of the questions, if I may, Madam Chair, that I spoke with both Howie and John about, because I thought the private pay initially was, while it fluctuated from quarter to quarter a bit, it was running in the high 30 to low 40% range of the total. And so that would tell me that it does sort of rely heavily on the private pay initially. I do think what happens is most folks do have some sort of assets, if you will, whether it be real estate or not, or something else, to be able to cover that private pay for the whatever term those assets would last. But there is that portion that Howie just mentioned that does not have the availability of those assets, but they have figured that in the projection. So again, after talking with all parties, reviewing the numbers, from my perspective, I do feel confident with it.
Well,
I'm
Howie,
comfortable that
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm comfortable that what we're talking about in the private pay is not high-end private pay, but essentially what I call a home equity conversion. That if somebody is fortunate enough to own their own home, even if that's a modest home, that would be asset enough for them to be able to afford our affordable assisted living, and also be assured that if they and many will run out of money, that they would be able to continue to receive that care either in assisted living or, as Joe relates, upon transfer to Mountain View in the nursing side.
Okay. Howie, what I kind of was hoping with your report, I know COVID is kind of taken over everything, is some of the good things that have been happening over at the nursing home in the past couple of months. And I know that you've done some really nice positive things. I've been reading your little updates every day. If you'd like to share some of those.
Well, the most remarkable part is that despite COVID, oftentimes when over the course of the last year when I'd be before you, the same drum we'd be beating would be the staffing problem. Well, we have no agency staff. If it were this time last year, it would have been 6. Staff morale. We have one full-time second position maintenance position open. And that's really about the only standing position that we're looking for right now. Not that we can't always use per diem, LNAs, and LPNs, but we're otherwise set. We have a new housekeeper that will be joining us in 2 weeks, and that'll round out the housekeeping staff. Our housekeepers have been exceptional because their positions have really changed from one being primarily dealing with cleaning to now being one with sanitizing. And to that end, Bob and Carrie Archibald have been able to move the department to full-time second shift. And so now they're primarily sanitizing and keeping the place safe for residents and staff alike.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
I thought, as I expected, not that we need to go over it, but I attached in my email to you yesterday a budget summary that shows that for the first quarter we're underspent, as it were, by $230,000, and we're at, which is about 2.1% under what we would be projected. That's not quite as good as it sounds, because first quarter expenses are typically the lowest of the year because we don't have the budget approved, and we go as light on expenses as we can during that first quarter.
But still, that's nice.
It is.
Anything else for us this morning?
No, just the only thing I would ask is if you want me to commit with Rossi Severance for next week, I'd be glad to, or whatever time frame that you prefer.
David, Terry, what do you think? Next week or the week after?
It doesn't make any difference to me.
Doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay. Whichever is convenient for her, probably, Howie. It's just, if she's going to come next week, could you let Melissa know by Friday, please?
Definitely.
All right. Any questions for Howie?
Great job, Howie.
No, thank you.
I think you're all doing a remarkable job over there. And the staffing, that is just incredible. It's so nice
It
to
certainly
hear
is.
this. It's so nice not to have to sign those checks. Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Howie, for your report. Next
Thank you, Commissioner.
is Bob Murray, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, the public comment person was able to get in with audio. Do you want to just keep going, or do you want to allow him his public comment?
Well, let's take an exception, and we'll have his public comment,
Okay, thank
and
you.
that way he doesn't have to wait until the end.
His name is Joe Haas.
Okay. Joe Haas, you had a public comment?
Morning. Hello?
Yes. You had a public comment?
Yes, I have two public comments, please.
All right.
Speak up, please.
Could you speak up, please?
Sure. The first one is on the RSA 275,
Yes.
and I have been talking with a state rep, Dick Marple, down in Hooksett. He's since deceased. He informed me of this RSA that people do not have to deal with banks, that you could give cash over the table to an employee of the county. And the reason I say that is because the stimulus money that is going to all these banks, they're giving these small employers, the businesses and companies, the royal runaround is what I call it. They're trying to say, well, you got to be a member of the local chamber of commerce and have an accountant, and if you don't deal with us, we're not going to give you the money. So I was hoping that one employee of the county, to just do it as an example, choose RSA 275:43, comma, Roman number 1, and small parenthesis A. I'm just, suggesting that as a test to see if somebody wanted to choose that option, because a lot of towns that I've gone to, the town treasurer says, no, you're just going to take a check or direct deposit, none of this crap, they call it, that we have bookkeeping and that's the way we do it. But I just would like some employee that's either hearing this or will read this might do this. That's number one. Did you get all that?
I did. And number 2?
And number 2, I wrote it down. I talked with Laura last Wednesday, and there's an RSA 189:68- a. It says there's a county office of education. And my question is, I know this is a public comment. You don't have to answer today. But I asked this a week ago, and I never got an answer. The county office of education, is that an existing office of the county, or is that the Department of Education has an office in the county from the state executive branch? Or is it an enabling legislation that gives you the power to set one up? And the reason I say that is because what got me going in Carroll County, I live in Belknap County, I just go to Carroll County as a tourist, and what got me going on this was the SAU 49 meeting last year, back in May, almost a year ago, in Wolfboro, on the Andrew Valinsky, John Tobin information session on, well, what they call it now is the Conval case down at the New Hampshire Supreme Court. case number 2019-500. And that goes back to the Londonderry case of 2006, where it says on the, getting back to this word education, that the operating costs of the schools locally are supposed to be state funded. And Michael Tierney, the attorney in Manchester, he's put it in his brief, or no, not the brief, the judge's order out of Keene in Cheshire County. He said that he wrote down 19 times, state funded, that all this money, 3/4 of your property tax bill is local education. And that's not supposed to be taxed at the local level. These towns are not doing their job. The Board of Selectmen, RSA 21J 35-6, that's comma VI for Roman numeral 6. Within 10 days of getting these bills, tax rates in the fall, they have the opportunity to contest. And nobody's contesting. And I was hoping that somebody at the county level, County Office of Education, if you don't have one, to start one, and to have all these towns, each county has 2 education tax collectors. The Tax Collectors Association is a woman, she's the president up there in Campton. She's the tax collector up there. There's 2 county education tax collectors. Do you know who they are? Because if you don't, you should know. And maybe get together with them to somehow help out the people in the county, the businesses, the residential owners. I mean, the average house in New Hampshire is $5,000 worth of tax a year, and if 3/4 of that is illegal and or unlawful, that brings it down to $1,250. That's only $100 a month. So I was hoping that you would establish a county office of education. Those are my 2 comments. I just would like to maybe meet with somebody on that sometime and talk over this. This is just the general starting point here. I just did a copy and paste of what I just said verbally. And one other thing too, as an example, you're in the building next door to the court, right?
Across the street, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because over there, your citizens, your residents, just like here in Belknap County, they get checks from the Bank of America. Maybe it's been changed now ever since this Conval virus stuff. The news spreading the money around to local banks. And they're getting checks from the Jury Center in Nashua on Bank of America. And the statute says no, it has to be from a bank convenient to the place of employment. And I don't want to go too far. One last thing is, there's an HR 22. I didn't give you the link to that. You can find that at the state website. In 2010, the legislature came down on Bank of America like a ton of bricks. They said, why are you charging $7 an employee to cash a payroll check in a bank where the employer has the account? And they told them not to do that anymore because it's supposed to be for the full amount. And that's why I just don't want to deal with banks myself. I'd rather just, take the money, cash over the barrelhead. And that would be nice if one of your employees, see, you're all officers. This is what Dick Marple told me. You're all elected officers, so you're not employees. And it would be nice for an employee to, start this process. That's my 2 cents, I guess, as they say.
Well, thank you very much for your comments, and you've certainly given me some stuff to do some research on this week. Thank you.
And the only experience at the county levels that I've had is I've gone over to Grafton County, where I used to live in that county, and I've dealt with the current executive counselor, Michael Priance. He's now your county,
Executive counsel.
Yeah, you're executive counselor. See, mine's Andrew Walensky, and I talk with Andrew all the time. And we got to get to the bottom of this education mess. And so really, I mean, if you could get back to me on that RSA on the County Office of Education, I'd appreciate it, because I did write to Frank Edelblue and Caitlin Davis. She's the one that usually shows up at these there's a chapter study committee on education funding. I went to all last year except for one meeting, and he or she has not gotten back to me on that. So maybe it's not really a county office. Maybe it's an office of theirs in the county. But if that's the case too, you ought to, if they don't push it, maybe you ought to pull it and say, well, would you please set one up in our county because we have people that are interested in that.
Well,
That's it for now.
all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you too. I'll hang up and just listen by speaker.
Very well, thank you. I'm sorry for your confusion getting on this morning. All right, Bob, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Commissioners, everyone else listening. Is John present?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. On the agenda, you've got an RFP, fiber optic cable upgrade, down and listed as number 5. Would the Commissioners object if we did that first?
Not at all.
So John can.
I don't.
John can
David,
get back
do
to
you
work.
have any objections to that? Jerry?
No.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
So you should have a copy of the RFP, and as we discussed many times during the budget process, John and I have the need to upgrade a small portion of our fiber optic between the buildings. We discovered a shortfall when we were doing an emergency management drill last year, and this will correct that. Essentially, we're going to be adding a piece of fiber optic cable between the annex and the jail, and replacing a piece of fiber optic between the annex and the nursing home. So with the Commissioner's permission, we'd like to put this RFP out.
Okay, and that, you're going to have the same company do both?
Yes. Yeah, whoever responds and wins the bid will do both pieces of cable. If I understood your question correctly.
Right, you'll have to forgive me, Bob, because I'm not as savvy about fiber optics as I probably should be, but the cable that's being replaced it's being replaced because it's old, is that?
If I may, Bob.
No, well, yeah, please.
When the new nursing home was built in whatever
10
year.
years ago.
10 years ago. It was put in using fiber optic specs that were current as of that time. In the interim, I have installed, the speed of that fiber is rated to go at 1 gigabit per second. And since that time, when we have retrofit the entire complex with fiber optic, that new fiber went in that handles a speed of 10 gigabit per second. So I am currently running the 10 gigabit speed on that link that was only rated at 1, but we do from time to time see it struggle to keep up. And so the point of replacing that particular strands is to get it up to the same speed as everything else we have here on campus.
Modernize.
Modernize it, correct.
Get rid of a bottleneck.
All right. Carrie, do you have any other questions?
I know this was in the budget, correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah, and I put,
Yes,
was it
yes,
like, how much was it, Bob? I think we put in what, 5,000? How much was it?
Do we want to talk dollars? in
I guess
public?
not.
Because it's going out to bid.
Okay,
It was more than
okay,
the
that's
number
fine.
you just said.
What you're thinking about is the last little thing that John had put in about some other things.
Okay.
Some other updates. John?
Keep in mind that the amount we asked for in the budget includes not only the installation of the fiber itself, but also other related hardware that I'll need to upgrade as well.
But this is only for the fiber.
This is for the actual fiber optics cabling itself.
David, do you have any questions?
Oh, no, Madam Chairman.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve the RFP for upgrade of fiber optic cable?
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes?
Commissioner Bevar?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is the renewal of the JP Pest Services contract. We talked about this last week. Commissioners deferred in Commissioner McCarthy's absence. So, but since we discussed this last week, I've made communication with JP Pest, and I was able to get them to carry this price for a second year. So I've resubmitted the proposal to you. This went out to competitive bid in 2016, and they won by competitive bid, clearly. And they have held their price since, including this year and next year. So they've offered us the same price that they won the bid for, and for 2 years. This is for the jail, the nursing home, and the annex.
And they're offering it again for another 2 years?
For 2 years, yes. They're locking it in.
And the reason we postponed it from last week is if we don't go out to bid, it has to be unanimous by all 3 commissioners, I believe. David, you had a comment?
Correct, because it's over $5,000.
Correct. David, you had a comment?
And I
David?
wouldn't be recommending this if they hadn't held their price that was won under the competitive bid.
Right. David?
Didn't we make a motion last week before we realized that we had to have, it wasn't just the 2 of us to hear, but it had to be all 3 commissioners had to vote on it? Didn't we make a motion and just set it aside?
I think we withdrew the motion.
Yes.
We withdrew the
Never
motion.
got that far. Yep.
Can Melissa read that motion back and I'll make it, because in it was the reasons we wanted to make it a one-source project.
Do you have that?
John, your answer is no.
I did not record that because it was withdrawn.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Now I'll make a motion that we award the pest control contract to JP Pest Services for a 2-year contract, not to exceed how much, Bob?
Well, I don't have a total. I have a total for each building.
47, 48?
4260 for the nursing home.
Yeah.
2146 for the jail, and 1,008 for the annex
Per year.
per year.
You get those?
Yep.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
They've broken down the price on the proposal that you have into 24 monthly payments that are fixed.
I think,
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just looking at the top. I didn't see the other two. The other 2 were in the packet with it.
Right in the middle of page 1.
Yeah. How much does it come to in total?
$7,414, I believe.
7,000 what, Terry?
414, so if we made it 75, I think we'd be okay,
Annually.
annually, not to exceed. Joe's probably checking my figures, though.
Well, what is the actual total? 7,001?
No, $7,414.
I'll make a motion, we give the pest control contract to JP Pest Services for a 2-year contract, not exceeding $7,414 a year. And the reasons we're going with a sole source is they've held the price since 2016, which was a competitive bid. They haven't raised the prices, and we haven't been overrun by rats, so they must be doing something good.
They were all at Ed's house.
Oh,
You can leave out the last sentence.
Yes.
No, they've done a really good job, and we should have build relationships with companies that do a good job, and they've done.
Thank you. I have no reason not to recommend them.
would you like to second that, Terry?
I will second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes?
Commissioner Bevard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Siemens preventive maintenance contract. Again, Siemens won this by competitive bid, and I've got them to agree to hold their price from last year to this year. But they've also presented us with a 3-year proposal, and they have fixed a 3% increase in years 2 and years 3. But they have held, like I said, they've held their price from last year to this year. The only difference is there's a couple pieces of new equipment. We've got 4 new boilers and 1 new piece of air conditioning equipment at the jail that have been added on. But all the other equipment is the same. So I would ask the commissioners, again, to waive the bidding process on those grounds and award the maintenance contract to Siemens.
Who did it before Siemens, Bob?
Train.
And Siemens beat Train 2 years ago, right?
By a substantial amount.
Commissioner Babson has a question.
David?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Bob, what is the risk involved if we were to go to another maintenance contract who isn't familiar with the equipment that Siemens put in place?
Well, the risk this year is you've got equipment that's going to be under warranty for a year. And anybody else that touches equipment that's under warranty voids our warranty.
Well, that's a pretty powerful statement.
I'd like to go with just a 1-year contract.
You can. You can certainly come back with a 1-year contract. The only risk with that is when you do 1-year contracts, which I discovered during this this workup, is 1-year contracts tend to go up in price higher than multi-year contracts. Companies, knowing that they can do business with us for multiple years, will give us a better price overall. And that's what I'm going for in this case. Siemens technicians have proven themselves worthy. They've done a great job. They've done. They beat the pants off of Train when it came to pricing.
But they had a motive.
I really can't say any more than that. Well, everybody has a motive. Train had a motive too. They wanted our business as bad as Siemens. They had every opportunity to beat the price as well. Siemens came in with a much better price, and their technicians are equally savvy. Technician-wise, Train and Siemens are competitive. They both got great technicians, but Siemens' price was Train couldn't compete.
So, Bob, if I read this properly, excuse me, Madam Chairman.
Go ahead, David.
Thank you. Bob, if I read this properly, they're only going up about $1,500 for the 3-year contract?
Yeah, this year, they're gonna stay fixed as what last year's price was, and they fixed their increase at a maximum of 3% for years 2 and 3.
Well, it gives a figure here. Is it a maximum, or are they giving us, or are you converting it to 3% and putting it in here?
I'm gonna go with, even though I said maximum, I'm gonna go with the fixed 3%. It could come in less, but I'm not gonna tell you that it is.
Well, where does it say that on here? All I see is solid figures.
It's on page 9.
Yeah. Where does it say 3 and 6%?
Right under the description of the buildings being serviced, probably about a third of the way down the page. It starts off with duration. This agreement shall remain in effect for an initial term of 3 years beginning 4/1/2020 and from year to year thereafter with a 3% increase, which is due to service increase in labor and materials.
Okay, and then they put the figures in what they're going to go.
Correct.
So what it will be. So it's an increase of about $1,300.
Yeah, which
Per year.
on the size of our complex, that's reasonable.
I'll make a motion that we give the maintenance contract for heating and ventilating, and I guess that would cover it, wouldn't it?
HVAC, yes.
To Siemens for the prices quoted on page 9 of their quote dated April 14th, 2020.
Do I have a second?
And the reason,
Go ahead, David.
pardon me, and the reasons being, they were the ones that installed all this equipment. The warranty would be no good if somebody else worked on their equipment in the first year. And a $1,300 increase for professional help over 3 years in a facility as large as ours is basically not a pay raise.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion? I think it should only be 1 year. They're going to hold it at 0% increase for 1 year. I think we should go with the 1 year until their warranties are all done, and then go out for bid next year.
I made a motion, Madam Chairman, and is it open for discussion?
Yes, sir.
I think that you're going to find if we do that they're going to increase their quote for years 2 and 3. I'd rather, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
That's the premise that I'm bringing to the table too. You can certainly do a 1-year contract like Commissioner Bevard suggests, but that would be at the risk of higher priced contracts for years 2 and 3.
Well, that's why I would go out for a competitive bid next year. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard?
No. So it cannot be accepted unconditionally because it's not unanimous of all the commissioners. So we can go back and discuss a 1 year, or we can go and do an RFP. Do either of you have a preference? Yes, David.
Well, you obviously aren't going to change your mind, so the only option we do have is to go out for a RSV, quote.
Or take a one-year contract with Siemens.
Okay, I will make a motion that we don't take a one-year contract with Siemens.
Is there a second to that motion? Well, that motion fails for lack of a second. Yes, Terry?
Why would you do that, David? I don't understand.
Well, if we, because I want to see the 3-year contract, I think it's a $1,300 increase on all the buildings, and for 3 years, it's a really good deal, and I don't want to see it. I'm convinced that if we go back for 1 year, that they're going to raise the price. So I wanted to try to see if I could convince you not to go with a 1-year contract, but apparently I can't.
Oh,
I believe the one-year contract is already was offered at 0% increase, right, Bob?
I can't guarantee that. I'm going to have to go back and reconfirm that number and come back to you next week with a 1-year proposal, if that's your direction.
They gave, Madam Chairman,
Yes, David?
they gave us a 3-year contract, and if we don't take the 3-year contract and we go back to them for a 1-year contract, I'm going to guess they're going to go up on the 1-year contract as well right away, and then they're going to go up next year or the year after also.
Well, I wouldn't think that would be the case. If they were offering a 0 increase this year, I would assume it would be a 0 increase for 1 year.
But they're going to get 3 years if we go with a 3-year contract. This way, they're only going to get 1 year. Guaranteed.
Bob?
May I-
Yes, Bob?
Yes, their 1-year contract was higher. I was able to get them to level price the first year based on the fact that we're going to try to get a 3-year contract. If I go back and ask for a 1-year contract, it's going to be higher. This year is going to be higher priced than what we have today. I'll do as you ask, but I think we're going to be leaving money on the table.
Gary?
Bob, if you go back and ask for a 1-year contract and we decide we don't like that and we want to go back to the 3-year contract, I think they're going to say no. I mean, what's your...
They have the opportunity. I mean, that could be kind of shooting themselves in the foot, though, I would think.
Well, I mean, I know, but for the same price is what I'm saying. Or do you think they'll go up?
I don't think they would.
Yeah.
This is my negotiated offer, or their negotiated offer. Anything other than this will cost us money. But
I think you should at least ask.
Reason.
I think you should at least ask for the 1 year at 0%, and then tell them that, we'll go out for bid next year.
When we first started talking about negotiating a new contract, it was for 1 year, and it was higher priced. And this was how I got this year's price to maintain, to be level, by going for a multi-year contract. I said, if I can get the commissioners to sign off on a 3-year contract, what can you do for me price-wise? And this is what they came back with. So I think it was a fair negotiation, and I think this is the best price that we can get. I'll ask, but I'm not comfortable with what the outcome is going to be.
I don't like the idea that they think they have us over a barrel just because of the warranties for 1 year.
This contract, well, all right, this contract can be canceled with 30 days notice. I did negotiate an out of this contract as well. Just because we're signing on for 3 years, if, a year and a half in, we don't like each other anymore, we can get out of this contract. Might be 60 days, but I do have an out built into it, if that helps your decision.
I didn't see that in there.
Let's see if I can find the page.
I thought I read all the fine print on 12 and 13, but maybe not.
I think it's going to be on page 10,
Yeah.
section 1.9.
What is the initial term? I thought the initial term was 3 years.
No, the initial term is 1 year.
Now, it says on page 9, the agreement shall remain in effect for an initial term of 3 years.
All right. Well, let me go down to 1 point.
1.9 says it's not cancelable during the initial term.
Would the commissioner feel better if I could get that wording changed? Let's say, for example, we gave them 1 year because it's under warranty, and then years 2 and 3 we have, let's say 30 or 60 day out. But that,
I
can negotiate that. Would that help?
hate to sign a contract with the intention that we're going to get out after a year. To sign a 3-year contract, that's not very honest, I don't think.
We have that in many contracts. We have a 30-day out in a lot of contracts.
I know that, but we don't plan on getting out after the first year.
No, but the risk is on them, though, not us.
Except, Bob, that we're going to go out for bid after the first year's contract is up. And, I don't like this idea that we can get out unless they've done something wrong or broken the contract. It's just, to me, it's unethical.
I agree with David.
What is the commissioner's pleasure?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir, David.
are you going to make the motion? I've run out of motions.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe what Bob should do is go back and talk to him about a 1-year contract. And that'll get us through their warranties. And then tell them that we don't think that this 3% a year is very nice. That's pretty high. Yes, David.
So what if I play your game and say I won't go along with no bids on 1 year?
That's fine. We go out to bid.
That's going to cost us more money.
It may not. I don't know. That we don't know. I'm just thinking that they gave us a supremely low bid before because they wanted the project that was here. They got the project. And now all of a sudden they're coming up with 3% increases on the maintenance. And they know they got us under over a barrel because the stuff they put in is their stuff that's warranted. So that's why I just feel like they put us in a corner and they're trying to box us in, and I don't like it. Yes, Bob?
They're holding the price for this first year, which is a good thing. I'm being repetitive. I'm sorry. But years 2 and 3, that 3%, that's not unusual. It can be, and it often it is, much higher. Businesses typically don't stay with the times if they don't raise their prices. The cost of business, materials go up, labor goes up, and businesses should follow. We've been very fortunate that we've been able to maintain a lot of our contracts, such as JP Pest, by level funding. The companies are taking it on the chin by level funding these. And a 3% increase is not unusual, and it's not a large increase. It's short, in my opinion.
David?
I think it would be good to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I don't want to do a lot of broadcasting here, but how great was the percentage of just wages for the 2 contracts we signed? That they have the same problem. They're going to have to pay increased wages to their union too, so it's not going to be a little amount of money. And most of that 3% that they're charging us is probably, I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess, probably is in wage increases. Just like in our facility.
I don't know what you two want to do. We're not going out for the 3-year, we're not taking this contract for 3 years. So we can go out to bid, or we can ask for the 1 year, and David said he's not going to go along with that, so.
Oh, David's leaving us.
Well, that's one thing you can do in your home.
Joe has a question, Madam Chair?
Joe?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I've just had an opportunity to look at this contract and the dollar amounts. In year 2, you're looking at an increase of $659.82 for an annual contract. I didn't calculate year 3, but for my money, from a business standpoint, for a 3-year contract with a fixed rate of increase, with what's going on in the economy at this time, once things come back to normal cycles, I believe you're going to see more than 3% increases in your various contracts. So what I'm trying to say is that I think Bob has done an excellent job of negotiating this deal. I understand the reasons why perhaps the commissioners may not want to do it, but from a business standpoint, it seems to make perfect sense to me. Just wanted to add my 2 cents. Thank you. I would hope you'd reconsider.
David's back.
I had to fill up my NRA coffee mug.
Commissioner Babs,
I did the math. Year 2 is a $659.82 increase, and year 3 is a $679 increase.
That's because of the 3% on the 3%.
Yeah,
Per
on
year.
a $23,000 contract.
Seems like we got a $2 million contract they haven't finished yet. Bad comment.
If I may, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if Commissioner Babson heard my last comment or not, but irregardless, I understand the concern about the $1 million contract, and I think there was extenuating circumstances that may have prevented them from completing that totally at this time, but I do feel it will be completed. Would you agree with that, Bob?
Yes.
So I'm not sure that that's something.
Actually, Joe, what you said for your math, Joe. Did somebody tell me what Joe said?
What I was saying, Commissioner Babson, was the $1 million contract that has not been completed at this time, I believe, is because of some extenuating circumstances, that being the virus and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's fair to hold that as an item against this proposed 3-year contract with the 3% increases. I'm in favor of that from a business standpoint because of the small amounts. I do believe once the economy gets rolling back to a somewhat normal cycle again, with all of these things that have happened, I think you're going to see more than 3% increases in items going forward. So I was just trying to put my 2 cents worth in to say that I think what Bob has negotiated is an excellent deal, and I hope the commissioners reconsider it.
Do you two want to go out to bid for a 1-year contract or a 3-year contract?
We went out for a 3-year contract. We got it right here.
No, it never went out to bid. It never went out to
Oh,
bid.
okay, yeah. No, I don't.
The original 2018 contract went out to competitive bid.
Let me see. I'll make a motion that we go out to bid for a 1-year contract. Is there a second? Well, I guess that motion fails. I'll make a motion we go out to a 3-year contract bid. Is there a second? Well, that fails, so I guess that's all the options we have.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, David?
I should know, but I don't. What is the procedure? I made a motion that we give this contract to Siemens, and it was voted down 2-1. So
No.
I guess the only way that we can reconsider that is if one of you two who are on the prevailing side, you will make a motion that we reconsider my first motion.
David, if I might correct you, you made a motion that we go out, that we give this to Siemens without going out to bid. In order for one of those motions to pass, not to go out to bid, because it's over $5,000, it takes a unanimous decision, all 3 of the commissioners. You and Terry both voted yes, I voted no. So therefore, It cannot be accepted without going out to bid. I believe that's correct.
That's a very interesting procedural conundrum that we're in, Madam Chairman, because you're right. We didn't vote on, we voted, but it takes all three, and we only got two.
Correct.
So I don't know how you reconsider. I don't know how you go. We weren't on the prevailing side when we lost because it takes all three. So the only one that I could see that would, if we wanted to go out and use this contract that we have, the only way we could do that is if you were to make the motion to reconsider that. And it looked to me like there's no chance in hell that's going to happen.
So that's why I made the motion that we go out to bid for a 3-year contract. But there was no second, so that failed. And I made a motion to go out to bid for a 1-year contract, and there was no second, so that failed. So I think you're right, it is, I'm not sure what the next step would be. Unless one of you two thought that going out to bid for 1 year or 3 years or 2 years would be the alternative.
Or that you thought maybe a 3-year contract would be a good deal.
Correct. So, when does the contract come up for renewal, Bob?
March 1st, April 1st. We're past. We're into new territory. The equipment's going to get serviced one way or the other, with or without a contract. But without an agreement, it's going to cost us more because we go into a time and material basis.
But aren't they under warranty? Or
Not for.
Or this is just a service?
Correct. Correct. And negotiating a service agreement gives us a preferred hourly rate and preferred terms for service, priority, that type of thing. Excuse me.
But there shouldn't be any service because it's under warranty, right?
No, the new stuff is still under warranty. It's new. It probably just needs to be cleaned. Belts need to be checked. Bearings need to be lubricated. That type of thing.
Just maintenance.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what-
Anything that breaks will be covered under warranty.
That's all this is a maintenance agreement, right?
Correct.
Preventative maintenance.
Correct.
So if it's under warranty, wouldn't they still come and fix it?
Yes. If anything breaks, but we still need to service it in order to maintain the terms of the warranty. We have to have annual preventative maintenance done to the equipment.
But there's
If we don't,
no requirement that that be done by Siemens.
well, if parts start getting changed for any reason, I could, come up with a dozen different scenarios that could potentially void the warranty.
If something goes wrong with
And it's-
anything Siemens put in, they better make it good.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they will, and they're an honorable company. They've not cheated us. I don't believe that they would. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bringing this to you today. I have full confidence.
But if it went out to bid and somebody underbid them, then that maintenance wouldn't really affect our warranties. Because
I
if
wouldn't
something
want to
went
test
wrong,
that.
if something went wrong with one of their pieces of equipment they put in, they would come and take care of it.
Yes, they would. But we're still obligated to maintain it. And yes, anybody can do that. But during the competitive bidding process 2 years ago, sure, they wanted our business. They gave us a great price, but they're maintaining that price. I can't see how we'll do better. You know, if it's due process that you're interested in, we can do the due process. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to end up with the same piece of paper in front of us.
Well, apparently neither of the other commissioners want to go out to bid, so we're at a stalemate. So in the interest of time, you have some other proposals you have for us?
Yes, a couple RFPs to put out. For a couple of years now, we've talked about the loading dock approach at Mountain View. I put it on the back burner last year for two reasons: my shoulder surgery and the Siemens project that was underway. Time to revive this, get it back on the table, and I've created two RFPs, one for the loading dock approach reconstruction and one for the actual loading dock leveler replacement. On the loading dock approach reconstruction, that takes the curve out of the parking lot and allows for about 50 to 60 feet of straighter approach for tractor trailers to back up to the loading dock. Of course, that's what did the damage to the loading dock leveler to begin with, was trucks backing in crooked and hitting it, impacting it. And this should alleviate that. This is going to move a piece of drainage that's in the swale. It's going to move a lamp post. It's going to bring in some fill to level the ground and repave the construction area. If I lose you, I'm going to have to call back. My phone just showed 20%. So
Okay.
if I just drop off the face of the earth, I'll find my way back.
Okay. Are there any questions for Bob about this RFP for the loading dock reconstruction? Not from me. Nope. David?
No,
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
You want to second that, David?
yes,
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Just for clarification, is this for the loading dock approach reconstruction RFP only? We're doing them one at a time?
Yeah, they're two separate ones, right, Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
this one is just for the loading dock, right?
Loading dock approach reconstruction, yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Commissioner Babson?
yes,
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevar?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the second one,
Madam Chairman? Madam
yes?
Chairman?
Yes.
I asked Bob a question, I don't think it's too late, but I'd like an answer. Didn't we do the, may I?
Go ahead.
Didn't we do the surveying and and getting the wetlands permit or whatever we had to get the special permit already?
Yes, it's been surveyed. I have plans ready to go. There's no wetlands to contend with. There's no wetlands permit. It's just surveying both existing conditions and proposed conditions are all on the plans.
Thank you.
And that's just listed here as the request for proposal, correct? Bob, the one you're looking at now?
Yes.
It's the loading dock
Yes.
leveler itself.
The second one, you've already done the loading dock approach.
Right.
And the second one is the loading dock leveler, which is the device on the loading dock.
Any questions on that? David apparently needed another cup of coffee.
He's back.
David, did you have any questions on the loading dock leveler RFP?
No. No.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion to accept this?
I will.
David?
I'll make a motion and then can we discuss it? Make a motion that we,
Carrie already
for
made,
bid for the,
Carrie already made the motion. You want to second it?
oh, yes. I had another phone call coming in, yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Any
I got some
discussion?
questions.
Yes. Discussion.
Bob, I was under the impression that waste management put the landing dock in, or the ladders, or something connected with it. What was it? And this isn't covered by it, right?
No, this is totally separate. This loading dock leveler is on the concrete portion of the loading dock, so we can adapt the loading dock to different heights of trucks. What you're talking about is the extension of the loading dock, which is a metal platform that runs in front of the dumpster.
And waste paid for that.
Waste management owns it, yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Oh, David?
Yes.
Yes.
Bob, this is a metal fabrication that's going to have to go in here on the loading dock leveler. I would imagine that it's one mechanical unit that they have to make small adjustments before they put it in. Would this be the time to have someone, if they're going to do that, to have them take a look at the parts that Waste Management owns, and then tell Waste to take it back, and we have our own and we own it?
It'll be
Try to buy it from Waste, and then they'll get it.
Yeah, I think it'll be two different companies. I think the loading dock leveler company, that would be out of their scope of work. But if you want me to investigate that metal platform for the dumpster, replacing that with one that we own, I'll do that, and I can put it in next year's budget. I think somebody locally, a local metal fabrication company could do that.
Well, I sold metal fabricators all my life. I can give you a list of 15 of them to do it if you want. But I don't think that, if it can't tie into this platform, then let's go back to the platform and get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think they're separate.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we send it out to bid.
Wasn't it already?
You already have a motion on the floor, yes?
Motion's already been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard?
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I just have a question before Bob leaves. Do you need a motion to allow the chair to sign these pest services agreements?
You sign the agreements for the pest service, don't you, Bob?
Only if you give me permission.
So it looks like that. So either he gets permission or you do, I guess.
I make a motion, we let Bob sign the pest services contracts.
I'll second that.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard?
Yes.
Thank you. Just so we're clear, and until I get direction from the commissioners, our Siemens work that I'm going to be having done, our annual service work, is going to be done on a time and material hourly basis, and it's going to cost us more money than our service agreement. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
Commissioners, do either one of you want him to go back and ask about a one-year contract from Siemens?
May I ask Bob a question?
Sure.
So over and above what we're gonna have to pay, because we don't have a contract, is that gonna amount to probably more than the 3% for the second year? Do you have any idea how much more that's gonna cost us?
That's a tough question to answer. All I can tell you is that the hourly rate will be different, and I can get you what that number would be. I'd have to make a phone call or an email.
I was just wondering.
And it drops us off of the preferred. If we have an emergency, we're no longer a preferred customer. We're not as high on the list. We're not as high on the ladder. And I take that seriously, having the Department of Corrections and the nursing home needing prompt service. I'm very uncomfortable being put at risk by not having an agreement.
Good. Unfortunately, they're not interested in a one-year agreement, Bob, I'm sorry. And I'm not interested in a 3-year. Was there another one, Bob? The fire road?
No, there's just, I don't really have much to update you on that. I've met with one potential bidder. I met with them Monday, and they'll be providing a bid by Thursday's deadline, and we'll be talking about that next week.
Okay. Bob, does that fire road, when they're doing the dock leveler and they're doing that construction, will that interfere at all with the fire road?
No,
Okay.
none at all.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, we've covered a lot of ground this morning, but thank you.
Thank you very much for the furniture you delivered yesterday.
It was easy. We had it sitting around collecting dust.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Madam
All
Chair.
set?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank Bob, too, for moving that furniture around. I guess he's left, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the list is Jason. Can you hear
Good
me?
morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I was just going to say to Bob, too, he came over and looked at our roofs and stuff. He's working on that as well for the fixing the valleys and stuff. I just want to thank Bob. He's getting on top of that. So what you have in front of you first is the memorandum of agreement for the K-9 handler. That is Sergeant Corliss, who used his money from his GI Bill to have a K-9 here, which we have almost 5 days a week. Chloe's been doing fantastic. This past year, she was able to identify some Suboxone that was located in inmate cells that weren't supposed to be there. She found what we believe is fentanyl/heroin located inside some duffel bags in processing. Big help. Just her presence alone was able to help us convince a female who came in to give up the drugs that were inside of her body, rather than her holding on to them and unfortunately maybe overdosing and using them. So that was good. This past year, she has worked on her tracking skills, so she is highly proficient with tracking for an unfortunate event if we ever had somebody escape. So that's another feather in her cap. In November, Sergeant Corliss and Chloe's dog earned a national certification as narcotics detection team through the North American Police Work Dog Association. Overall, this has really made staff happy having here. It has been a tremendous help, even keeping inmates calm, especially new intakes. She sniffs the mail for us to find any contraband. And when we started with this a couple of years ago, the agreement was that we would pay $3,000 a one-year stipend each year to Sergeant Corliss to take care of his dog, his food, feeding, everything else. He takes care of everything. We take care of nothing. So he takes care of all of that. The vet down the road has been nice enough to work with him and give him free care, and so that's been very helpful. But, so I bring back again the MOU to you guys to sign again for Sergeant Corliss, and Chloe is his dog.
Jason, I'm disappointed. I thought Chloe'd come to visit.
We're not leaving the building, you know, we're
Right. Well,
on quarantine over here.
tell Sergeant Corliss we missed her. A question. Did you say that the vet down the road was giving her free care?
Yeah, the same vet that the sheriff uses, for the most part, gives her free care.
That is so nice. That's so nice. David,
Gives
you
us discounted, it gives us discounted,
Well, I just said, some of it's free and some is discounted, so it depends on what it is, but yes,
whatever it is, it's a nice gesture.
it is very nice.
David, comment?
No, I'd make a motion that we again sign the memorandum of agreement with Sergeant Corliss and agree to pay him $3,000 to go towards his dog.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? David?
I just want to thank Justin for his generosity. He took his GI Bill, as Jason said, and used it to purchase this dog and keep the dog. And you know, we need people that work at the county that go above and beyond, like Justin has in this case. And I hope it's a 3-0 vote.
Any other comments? All right, would you do a roll call, please? Is this the original?
Roll call, Commissioner Babson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard.
Yes. David, you want to stamp this, or you want to come in and sign it?
No, you can stamp it.
Thank you, Commissioners. When we're able to, this stuff get lifted and stuff, Sergeant Corliss and his dog will be happy to come back and fill you in on the trainings and things that have been going on. Our hope this year, too, is we will get her certified as a correctional officer when we're able to hold another academy this year. So she'll be a certified correctional officer as well.
She's got her vest and everything, that all came through all right?
Yes. Yep.
Well, I used to see him out patrolling the perimeter, and I haven't recently.
Yep, she still goes out. He takes her out around the perimeter. He works her quite a bit. We've been very fortunate. Stratford County and a couple of places. He's got, between Sergeant Corliss and his dog, a ton of free training with other handlers. Everybody's been very kind to us, and it's working out very well.
Well, thank Justin very much for us, please. Okay, and
You're welcome.
you have a second thing for us, Jason?
Yep, the second item in front of you is just the union contract that was already agreed to. Just was going back and forth to finish out the last part of the corrections on some of the typo errors. So it's all good to go. It's been signed by the union side. I just need the commissioner's side. We've already, the raises are done and everything, the contract already started as of April 1st. Now it's just a matter of just having it signed.
I believe we made a motion to accept this before, did we?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
We
No,
just
we voted to accept this before the
Delegate, yeah.
budget,
Right.
the delegation approved the budget.
So you just want our signatures today.
Yes, please.
David, do you want to sign this or do you want this stamped?
You can stamp it, please.
And could you please ask Superintendent Henry if it needs to be notarized or just witnessed?
Do you need it notarized?
Witness,
I'm sorry, Jason.
just witness.
Okay, thank you.
That would be you, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, we're still holding our own over here. We're able to get some personal protective gear through the state. We have some ladies in town making us individual masks for every inmate and every officer. My week is next week for updates, so I'll save most of my stuff for next week. But as it stands now, it's going okay. Commissioner Beavard, I've been trying to stay on top of
Right.
as many phone calls as I can. As you know, I just put out there, NACO is trying to work on getting money directly sent to the counties. One of the packages, if it goes through, would be directly, they're looking like $4.5 million, which would go to Carroll County, which would help for loss of revenues, stipends and everything else. So there's a lot of work being done that end. FEMA, after it's said and over, we'll be doing grants and try to reimburse things. So there's a lot of moving parts between there. I was on Friday meeting with the Gopher Committee for the governor, referencing what is needed by each one of the counties. I represented the superintendent's affiliate, talking about protective gears, talked about if there was going to become stipends for first responders, either through the state or the federal government, specifically the corrections and sheriff's departments. Trying to think what was there else there. So the meeting lasted quite a while. The municipal association went for an hour and a half over their time. Then David Ross spoke for the nursing home affiliates, and I spoke for the superintendent's affiliates, and then Ray Bowers spoke for the county administrator affiliates, and all of us said the same thing about personal protective gear and some sort of stipend for the first responders as well. Seems to be the hot topic buttons right now. That's what I got.
And you have had no coronavirus positive tests from your employees or your people?
No. Knock on wood, the 10 county jails, only one jail had a positive employee. That person, I believe, is not back to work. No other positive employees and no inmates so far have been tested positive inside of New Hampshire County Corrections.
Excellent, excellent. David, you have a comment?
Yes, a question. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Jason, refresh my memory. We're not taking in any running inmates anymore, are we?
Correct. All the jails are pretty much on lockdown mode. No transfers are going on right as we speak right now, unless it was a dire emergency. But right now, no transfers. And the police departments and the county attorney and everybody else are working together for very limited intakes. We still are getting them because, there's some things you have to answer in 911 calls, those sorts of things. And we have it set up here. If they do stay with us, we have quarantine units. They're quarantined for 14 days to make sure that they have no signs, symptoms, or anything along those lines. And then they're able to the general population. We're obviously doing a lot of deep cleaning, that's the most stuff that we're spending money on is just personal protective gear and a lot of cleaning supplies. We are cleaning over and over again. It's not just the officers, but the inmates need to feel safe too, so they clean on a regular basis, and they're very happy to be able to do the cleaning. And we're taking, like everybody else, temperatures on the way in of every officer coming in. Every new intake gets their temperature done, along with a myriad of questions to see if they've been exposed to the COVID or if they're showing any signs or symptoms, or we may need to send them down to the hospital. They get checked out first. So right now, knock on wood, we're doing okay. And my staff, like everybody else's, has been coming to work. So I'm very, very proud of them for showing up to work where it's difficult. We're still dealing with mentally ill people, still dealing with fighters. Rockingham County had an inmate come in, spit in 2 officers' faces. So we're still dealing with the same elements coming in when they do come in. That makes it a high-risk environment for us. But overall, very pleased with staff.
You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, I have just an off-the-wall question, and I'm not going to tell you why until next week. But do your employees come in the front Todd Road here from 150, from out by the admin building, or do they come in the dirt road?
Both. It just depends where they come from. They use both.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with us today? Any questions for Jason?
Can I put out one more comment? I just want to, it's been in the paper enough, I just want to make a statement. So, we had an inmate here, Mr. Perkins, who, as everybody knows, is an elderly gentleman, it was all over the paper, very compromised immune system. Yes, he's domestic violence. But my doctors wrote an affidavit saying that his mortality rate was 20 to 40% higher than everybody else's here, and that if he caught it, we would not be able to maintain his life. So with that affidavit that was done, I had to bring it forward to the court and let them make a decision on the balance between jail and balance between what's best for society. The court decided that he could go out under House of Corrections authority monitor. With that being said, just so it came out of the paper again, Mr. Perkins is still inside the jail. He has not been released, to some people's worries. There is a lot of hoops to jump through. We're not even close to being there yet. All the court did was give us an opportunity to do this because our doctor said, you know, you have to look at that. And under my job, under the RSA, I have to bring everything forward for safety of life, liability of the county and the jail. I don't know if he'll get out or not. We got a lot of hoops. I also want to put out there that wasn't presented to anybody. His sentence is up in June. So he is getting out of here anyways in June. So we were looking at somebody that would have left a couple of months early because of this. I'm not an advocate of usually sending people who have violence back out in the community. What I'm an advocate of is when our doctors say, Superintendent Henry, his mortality rate is high because of his compromised immune system, his heart, his lungs, and everything else he has. We are strongly suggesting, along with an affidavit, you find a way to get him out of your jail. He was at another jail that I had down there so he could get the medical treatment he needed. They decided to move him back here because they didn't want to take the liability of him deceasing. And I tried to work before he moved back here to get him out. All also known, no animosity towards the county attorney. I thought she did a great job presenting our case in front of the judge. I actually had a nice email with her this morning, and that's what she had to do. And I appreciate that. Sometimes you come up on the opposite sides of things, and it's a court decision. So there's no animosity that way. It's not something that I struggled with, that I had to bring forward. And as I want to say, as it stands now, he is not in the community. And if we're able to get through those hoops, then maybe he might have an opportunity. And again, with that being said, I will say one last time, his sentence is up in June. So he will be returning to the community either way, whether it's a little earlier or in June. But thank you for listening to that, and any questions, I'll take it.
No, I don't think that is a subject for a commissioner's meeting. Thank you. All right. Moving on, we have Lisa Scott, Registry of Deeds, who is present, although you were on the film. Okay. I'm confused, but we're all set. Go ahead, Lisa, I'm sorry.
Yes, Commissioner, I was down in the office until I realized it was time to come up. And as Bob Murray requested for many of his items, I am also requesting that you waive the RFP process for restoring the records, that you bring forth a motion to allow CoFile Technologies to restore the next series of deed books that are budgeted for this year. Reason being that I believe it's very important that the land record be consistently and dependably restored. Contracting with CoFile to continue on with this process will ensure good quality restoration at a competitive price. We did take this out to bid in 2018, and they were by far the most competitive. Their quality of work is excellent. Their service is reliable. They have sufficient resources to expertly and efficiently perform the job in a timely fashion. And for all the reasons that were said for the other RFPs, Commissioner Babson used the reasons that I would like to ask you to waive this bid for this year. Same reasons. They do a good job. We don't want to introduce a different methodology into the process at this point in time. They are efficient. They serve 9 of the 10 counties in New Hampshire. They have a great reputation, and they serve the town of Ossipee as well. And accolades aside, they have assured me that they will keep to the price that they quoted back last competitive bid in 2018. So we know what to expect. Therefore, I request that you unanimously vote to waive the requirement to go out for RFP.
Somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? You want to second that, David?
I heard your question to begin with. No, I don't.
I'll second it. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman? There is no motion. This requires all three to approve it, and I won't vote to approve it.
Well, can we at least take the vote?
Sure. I'm sorry, you're right. Go ahead.
Commissioner Babson?
Can we have some discussion,
You want
Madam
discussion?
Chairman?
Oh, yes, discussion. I asked for discussion.
Yes. Madam Chairman, we just voted not to award a $7,000 contract for maintenance of the building. You voted not to do that without going out to bid. This proposal is $300,000, and you want to just hand it out. I won't vote for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Babson, although we did request
No.
$600,000 for archival this year, because of the uncertainty, the budget.
I can't tell what she's saying, Madam Chairman.
You'll have to speak up.
Point of order, I can't tell what she's saying.
Well,
Commissioner Babson, although we did ask for $600,000 this year, we were awarded $100,000 because of the uncertainty of what this year would bring. So with the $100,000, I anticipate we could restore 30 more books. And I must say that the price that CoFile offered us in 2018, which they are sticking with, was
less than half of what the other competitive bidders suggested would be their cost. So for all the reasons that you approved of the waivers for earlier today, for the loading dock and the pest control services, they are a known entity. They do a good job. They serve almost the whole state of New Hampshire and the town of Ospey with their services. They've guaranteed to keep their price down. I will go to bid if you require it. I don't see that there will be anything different come of going to bid. So in the effort of efficiency and saving time and energy, I believe this is a prudent thing to do.
And it's a one-year contract, correct?
Yes, it's the amount that was awarded for this year.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes. I'm sorry, Registrar Scott. I thought it was 300,000. I thought when they passed the budget, it went to up to 300,000. But if it was 100,000, that's still 10 times what we determined we were going to go out for bid on the preceding one for maintenance. So I'm still voting no.
Continue the vote.
Okay, a roll call vote. Commissioner Babson?
No.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard?
Yes. Now, I believe if you turn the page,
Lisa?
there is an RFP that was the same one that she used last year, 2018, I guess. Do I have a motion to accept this RFP?
I'll make that motion.
Just a minute, Madam Chairman, while I try to find it here in my paperwork.
I sent it to Commissioner Babson's email after he was here on Monday. I don't know if he has a printed copy or not.
Melissa,
I can ask. I
don't think you included it in my package you gave me the other day.
Commissioner Babson, that's correct. The supporting documentation for this came in on Monday, and I sent it to you after you were here at the complex. I sent it to your email.
Oh, okay.
Did you find it in your email?
No, I'm not looking for it. I have no problem with going out for bid.
Okay.
I want to go out for bid.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Commissioner McCarthy was the motioner to do the RFP.
Did you second that to go out the RFP? David, are you seconding the motion to go out for an RFP?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Then you can do roll call.
Roll call, Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bevar?
Yes. Anything else you'd like to share with us today, Lisa?
I would, Commissioner Bevard. Yesterday I received in the mail a kind offer from Fiddler. Fiddler is our land records management provider, computer service provider. I believe the letter was forwarded to you via Melissa. And they are offering the opportunity to donate $500 to a nonprofit of my choice. And they pay, we pay them a significant amount of money. I was thinking that I'd like to ask your input of what nonprofit serves the whole county best, so that we could funnel these $500 to that nonprofit if you would help me with this.
Can you hear that, David?
Yes.
Do you have a suggestion?
I do not. I know my local nonprofits. I don't know all the ones in the county. So I'm open to discussion and would like your suggestions.
Madam Chair, is there a deadline, or can you consider the?
You can consider this.
Do either of the commissioners have a suggestion, David?
We wait a week and think about, does that include Mountain View Nursing Home? Or does it include just outside agencies? Or what are the parameters here? I'd like to see the money go to Mountain View Nursing Home, our community.
This is a charity, so that's probably a 501.
Well, the parameters are spelled out in the letter. Would you like me to read the letter?
He has it also.
He has it.
Why don't we discuss this next week?
I can find it on my email here, Terry. When did you send it out, Melissa?
On Monday.
Monday? Okay.
I was wondering if the Ossipee Corner Fire Department would come under that.
Local charity of your choice.
Well, I guess that's probably not a charity.
They have an association, all the fire departments do also, that are 501.
It's just they do so much for Mountain View and for the whole complex. Maybe a week. What do you think, Terry?
That's fine. I probably shouldn't because, you know, mine is always RSVP, so I would probably abstain from any kind of a vote. But, because they do countywide, and I know they're kind of having a tough time now. They're still doing the driving and still doing Meals on Wheels every day, and doctor's appointments and everything else, so. So I think that would be my choice. But that's a personal choice. But I will go along with.
What did you say, RSVP?
Yeah.
Terry?
So, but I will abstain from voting.
Well, I don't see why.
Well, because I'm on that board, so it's, you know, I don't.
Well, we have 3 ideas here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Can we meet next week?
Sure. All right, next week, David. We'll make a decision next week.
Please.
I would suggest that if anyone has any suggestions, that they email them to the 3 commissioners to consider. That, I think, is very, very nice of Fiddler to do that. Very nice. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
We're doing well at the registry. We have 2 staff working remotely each day, and they're handling that quite nicely. 3 of us are in the office every day, and recordings are happening. We're very busy. And if people need to hand us documents, we go outside the building and retrieve them from them. Otherwise, things are coming in by mail and electronically.
Very good. So your income for April is looking okay?
I'm hopeful. The county numbers seem to be a little bit higher than last year. The state numbers appear to be lower. So the transfer tax amount, the state of New Hampshire income, the transfer tax income is a little bit down from last year. But the recording information, there are more documents being processed.
Mortgages?
Lots of mortgages.
Yes. Refinancing, a lot of refinancing. All right.
Thank-
Anything else you want to share with us?
That's all for now.
All right, thank you so very much. And would you thank Fiddler very much for their offer?
I will. Thank you.
Anything else for Registrar Scott? Okay. Will, thank you very much for your patience. Will,
No, you're welcome. Good morning.
good morning. How are you today?
Good. I'm excited to see what we have in the mail.
Okay, what have we got? These are all in one container, I gather.
Should be 3 bids in there.
Oh, here we go. 3? David, we got one for you, but you're not here.
Okay, well, open the low one for me.
Okay, will do. Will do. Okay.
Madam Chair, point of information.
These are bids for a Chrome 130D round baler. The RFP went out 3 weeks ago. Is that correct, Will?
I think it went out on April 9th is when I emailed it to all the people.
Okay. Will, how many bids did you solicit?
I called five different companies, talked to all of them. I had one from way up in Vermont, Fourniers. They're probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 exits from Canada border up there. Called me back and told me they would not, for sure would not be bidding on it because we're so far away. If they had to come down for warranty work, it just wouldn't make sense for them. So they did get back with me and say that they weren't. The other 4 made it sound as though they were going to, but I don't know what you're looking at or who you're looking at yet.
We have 3. We have 3.
That's good.
I have one from Champlain Valley Equipment out of Berlin, Vermont, for $32,475. What do you have?
I have one from John Deere for a Krone F130D. Selling price $40,850 with a less Carroll County Farm discount of $10,855. So their balance would be $29,995.
And where is that?
And who was that, Terry?
John Deere
From where?
John
from
Deere, okay.
Kensington, New Hampshire.
From
Kensington?
Rosencrantz?
Yes. Yep, Rosencrantz and Sons.
All right, and I have another John Deere bid from Trottier and Sons down in Royalton, Vermont, for $31,600. So what we'll do, Will, is we will give you these 3. They all look to have met the RFP, but I'd like to have you peruse them and make sure, and come back next week and tell us if the apparent low bidder is the one that was comparing apples and oranges or just apples and apples.
Sounds good.
There. would you please see that Will gets those?
Of course.
Thank you. That's kind of exciting, Will. Don't you
Yeah.
think? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'll be more excited when it lands in our yard.
Oh,
The grass is green and starting to grow, and they're talking about some warmer weather next week. So I don't think we're going to be too far off. Hopefully.
yeah. Well, that's close enough. They should be able to deliver in a few days, so,
I would assume so.
yeah. I didn't realize that John Deere sold that brand. So. That is excellent. Now, you have, a proposal for us?
Yes, ma'am. I have a RFP for a Anderson wrapper. Been looking at some different types of wrappers. There's a couple, there's several brands out there. There's probably a couple leading brands that are more of the higher quality from all the reviews I've done, and this Anderson wrapper would be in that upper end. That's based off of what we budgeted for, was based on an Anderson. So went through on their website, kind of got the specs for the particular one we're looking at, and put them in there for this RFP. The one thing I don't have in this RFP, which I think I was kind of waiting for an answer on, but I don't think I would ask to have it in the RFP. I think it's a question we'll deal with afterwards. But there's two types of controllers, basically. You can have a manual, which this one has, a manual sticks out on the machine. And there's also, which I've been looking into because I just recently found out about it, is there is basically like a cordless device that you would keep in the loader with you. So now you don't have to jump in and out of the skid steer. You just go up, put the bail on. You can hit the lever from what's inside your cab. It'll wrap it, and then you take the bail off instead of trying to crawl in and out of the skid steer. So I think that's an add-on that we can add on to afterwards, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do the investigations on. So right now I just want to keep it apples to apples with what the machine comes with, and then if that's an add-on that we can afford, then we can look into that afterwards.
David?
Yeah. Well, the wrapper is a power takeoff implement, correct?
No, it's ran by hydraulics. Actually, it plugs into the back of the tractor for hydraulics, and it has, I don't believe it has any PTO shaft on it.
Okay, so, well, my question is, how with a skid steer, does that make any difference? That even if you have the control unit, you're going to be able to turn the control unit on from your skid steer with somebody else sitting on the tractor?
Well, so my understanding, and like I'm saying, I'm still investigating it, but you'll be able to engage your hydraulics on, in our example, our little tractor would be hooked up to the wrapper. You would engage your hydraulics on that, and then there is a controller of some sort that's wireless. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. I don't even know what it looks like yet. I've just been reading up on this, and that you keep in the skid steer with you, so it engages and turns it on and off. So it must be something that's hooked into the hydraulics of the wrapper, and then you can with the button inside the skid steer, you would do that.
It turns the switch on and off, I believe, for the wrapper.
I think so, exactly. You'd have the hydraulics engaged all the time on the little tractor that's running the wrapper, but you could turn it, you could engage it on and off, so to speak, when you actually want to wrap it from the skid steer.
So it turns the pump on and turns it off.
Right, that's what I'm gathering, yes, sir.
Huh. I'd be interested in seeing one of those demonstrated. Okay, do I have a motion on the RFP for the Anderson wrapper?
I thought, Madam Chairman, you asked Willie to take take them back and take a look at them and come back next week and then we'd make the motion, wouldn't we?
That was on the round baler. This is, he's got an RFP for the wrapper.
Look for the wrapper, okay. And you made your choice on the wrapper, Will?
Yes, I went with this Anderson because it has it's belt driven, so to speak, versus some of these others have lower brands, I guess you would say maybe, have these more like solid rollers, and all the reviews I've read and people I've talked to in my research have indicated any of the brands that run the belts are much better. It allows you to do, I mean, we're going to have one size bale, but theoretically it will allow you to do different size bales or a square bale if you had that. So it's just a better all-around product from what I've been told. There are some other brands that do have the belts as well, but it's hard, you know, the way we do business here at the county, we got to have an RFP, so I have to have something specific that people are going to bid on. I can't just leave it open-ended and see what we get, because then we're not comparing apples to apples. So that's kind of why I just decided to go with this one. That doesn't mean there isn't other ones out there that would work, but I've gone with this one so that we have an apples to apples somewhere to start with.
David?
Yeah. Did you go and look at anybody's machine, and if you did, who are they? Who did you go to see?
I haven't gone and physically looked at any yet. I kind of wanted to see, I'm not as big of a hurry for this wrapper as I am the baler. I'm pretty confident in that, you know, we're going to hopefully decide on that next week. But the wrapper, once we get the RFPs back, and we get the bids back, and you give me time to research for a week like you do, that's when I plan to take more of a visit and see, you know, physically go see before I come back to you on a recommendation of which one we actually want to go with.
Doesn't Coon make a wrapper?
They do, and one of the dealers so when I put out these bids for the round baler, I also quizzed everybody of what they sell for wrappers, because knowing we were going to do this and know who we could sell, who we could go back to. So Coon does have one, or there's one of the companies over in Vermont that placed the bid, does sell the Coons. And I looked at them, but I looked at them online, and I don't have a real clear vision of what those are. It's something that I would want to go visit to see. But again, you know, I can't can we get bids on Andersons or Crohn's or, you know, or Coons or whatever? You know, we got to kind of specify it with the way we do business with these RFPs. So that's the only reason why I didn't include Coon in there.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? David, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, I guess I'm confused. Are you going out for bid for this? We don't have the bid for the wrapper, but we do for the baler?
Correct. So this is for the wrapper.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go out for the bid for the wrapper.
I'll second.
So, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Roll call bid, please.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Beaver?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the next order of business is the Executive Coordinator's Report. I was wondering if you might allow the Treasurer's Report next. I believe Register Scott is
I'm not
also...
done with Will yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, Will. She
Fair
was
enough.
just kind of running off here.
Sorry, Will.
She wants to get done by noontime, that's all.
Well, Will's been here all
so.
morning, so I'm sure he had work to do. So.
I'm sure he does. Will, my question is about your hay fields. Did you get them all fertilized in the fall?
Yes, we fertilized them in the fall, and this morning I started, I got the field across the street from our shop done, going around picking up rocks, because we do get large rocks that sometimes come out of the fertilizer, and it's not from the fertilizer, but it's from the spot where we have all of it dumped. You know, when they go to scoop it up to put it in the spreader, we often get rocks in there. So I went around, I picked up quite a few just in that field, and my plan is probably later today and tomorrow, while we got nice weather out there, is to cruise around. To go along with that, another great point with this skid steer is it has very low impact on our fields, on its pressure down. So it was a very wet field that I was out down in this morning, and it cruised right over it, and it was great.
No tracks.
No, except I did learn don't turn real sharp on soft grass. It won't turn that up. But as long as you make it a big U-turn, it floated right over everything very nicely.
Very good. Well, I would, are you going to be in your shop this afternoon?
Yes, ma'am. I should be here. If I'm not in the shop, I'll be on the complex. I might be out in the machine picking up rocks, but
Okay.
I plan to start below the jail. But other than that, I should be here.
All right, thank you, because I need to come and talk to you about a secret.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything else you want to share with us?
We're not supposed to have any secrets.
No, Will and I are going to have a secret. Is there anything else you want to share with us, Will?
Nope, other than that, everything's moving along pretty good. We've been doing a lot of yard cleanup. Our crew is very short and skeleton-like, me today. But, we're moving along. I think we're ready for the grass to start growing and going to be good shape. As soon as it warms up, we got some places we want to reseed. And water and sewer seems to be going pretty good, knock on wood at this point, and just moving forward.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your patience this morning. I'm sorry that we didn't get some times on here so that we could not take up your whole morning.
No, that's fine. Thank you. And I'll sign off so Melissa can do her thing.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Have your paperwork in your mailbox, okay? Or
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll try to stop by this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Stop by
Thank you.
stop by the commissioner's office if you do, would you please?
Sure.
All right, thank you. Take care of that.
Thank you.
Okay, now, you would like to trade with the treasurer, is
Yes,
that
please.
correct?
Yes, yes, please. So then
Does
Lisa-
anybody object to that, having the treasurer's report next?
No?
No. Okay, Joe, your treasurer's report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a number of items that I want to kind of go over. I've been doing some research. As you know, I have mentioned numerous times about making sure our accounts are, as I call it, balancing. I believe somebody else calls it reconciling on a regular basis. And I was doing some research, and of course, one of the things I discovered was the issue back in January of 2013 where there was an issue where some funds were missing out of the county. I'm not going in to mention names or anything, but as I read through the reports on this thing, it says that the current finance manager at the time was preparing the year-end W-2 taxing forms for the county employees and balance the checkbook with the general ledger, and that balance has to be exact and complete. That was when they discovered that it wasn't exact and complete. In fact, they discovered there was some checks written out by hand, and that's how this whole thing came about. My point is that, that happened a number of years ago. I'm not saying it's happening now, but I think it's extremely important, as I've said right along, to have these accounts balanced on a regular basis. And in addition to that, I think it's the responsibility of the treasurer to see that they're balanced. So having said that, I do have a copy of what was prepared for the commissioners by the finance department with regards to all the accounts that are in the county. And as I go through this, I find a couple of things that I'd like to make sure the commissioners are aware of in case they're not. The first thing is all the general funds.
Excuse me, Joe.
Yes,
Excuse me, Joe. Can you tell me when you got that email? I got it here, and Kathy sent it yesterday or the day before, bank account. Okay, go ahead. I'm all set now.
you got that? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at.
Yes, sir. I hope the commissioners have a copy also.
Yes.
Okay, so the first accounts that are listed, the general fund, the three parts, it doesn't list the entire account number on here. Now, perhaps that was done to make sure that full account number isn't put out there for everybody to see, but I do believe that the commissioners and the treasurer should have that full account number. So I would ask the commissioners to make sure that that does have the full account numbers on there. As I go through this and read this, it says that the disbursements checkbook is held in the finance office. The finance office makes the deposits, and they also prepare the checks for the treasurer and the commissioners to sign. It indicates here that the finance office has an individual that reconciles the account to the bank. I guess what we need to do is to see that documentation to make sure they are being reconciled. So,
Joe, where do you see that on this email?
if you go to the far right-hand side,
Okay.
the very first one says, who reconciles to the bank in GL. Do you see that, Commissioner Babson?
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes, I'm with you.
Yep, so what I'm saying, I'm not saying they're not being done. They may be, in fact, being done. But I think it's important for us to have documentation, and I would think the commissioners would like that too. And the reason I bring that up is because of the situation from back in 2013. So,
Joe, wouldn't that hold for all the accounts? I noticed there it said that many of them, who reconciles all of them,
Yep.
each and every one of them.
well, unfortunately, you're getting ahead of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, because my next comment was that I have asked Registrar Scott to stay because she does an excellent program of reporting to the treasurer on balancing the accounts. Now, this includes a photocopy of the actual bank statement, which has all the copies of the checks. I know Commissioner Babson mentioned, I believe, a week or two ago that there's probably a fair number of checks in the general fund account, and I'm sure there is. However, they are small and they are pre-printed on the bank statement. So I still think it's important to have those because that way you can look and see if there's a check out of order by account number, by check number, excuse me. At the same time, what Registrar Scott does is she prepares what I'll call, well, maybe I'd let her explain it if she would. The document that you prepare for the treasurer. Would you do that, please?
Are you referring to the?
David isn't going to be able to hear you.
Yeah,
unless
you're gonna have to-
really yell.
Yeah. I'm referring to the summary sheet that you do where you balance the income and the expenses, debits and credits.
The summary sheet that I taped to the statement,
Yes, it's the separate page.
totally separate
Yes,
page.
yeah.
You'd stand here because he's not going to hear you over there.
You know what-
The Excel,
Yes,
Excel
yes, yes.
summary.
Yes.
So we have a Excel program that does a daily tally of all the income that we receive and all the expenditures that we receive. And it flows into a monthly summary. And that summary, I guess,
Is
Joe
what-
likes.
Yeah.
And it just details everything. And on top of the bank reconciliation, the bank statement, we also do all the deposits and all of the expenditures and zero it out to zero at the end of every month because we don't keep any money in our account except a few things, escrow for the IRS and the state of New Hampshire, and it's all spelled out so you can see clearly why the check that we write to the county is the number that it is, and the check that we write to the state, which is millions of dollars every year. It's all laid out, spelled out.
The important thing with what Registrar Scott does is that it ties right into the bank statement. And so it's a perfect balancing or reconciliation item or way to do it. I believe I've shown this to the commissioners previously. I've shown you a copy of what she does. And to my way of thinking, the next step would be to get the rest of the departments to utilize that similar format so that we've got a standardized format to have this done by each bank account or each individual who's responsible for it, and would provide it to the treasurer on a monthly basis, and the treasurer will maintain those records, and the commissioners can get a copy if they choose, but you can also see what's going on at any point in time. Then we can go back and pull out whatever month you want to look for, whatever account you want to look for, if there's ever any question. This is one of the processes that I've been working towards for a couple of years now. I realize it's probably a lot at the moment, but this is the next step I'd like to see us go to.
Lisa, does that require entering the numbers twice?
No, it requires entering it only once, and it flows from one database into another spreadsheet.
Automatically?
Yes, you do need to know how to use Excel in order for this to happen. Or you buy a fancy program that does it all for you. But we developed our own.
Again, this is why I'd like to have Register Scott work with the other department heads if she has the ability to do that, and I think she does, we've talked about this,
Glad to help out.
help set this up with each department that has accounts so that we have a standardized format going forward and we shouldn't have any questions or any problems.
Do the other accounts use Excel?
I can't answer that. I don't see any other accounts. That's the problem.
It wasn't on that report.
What's on the report is who reconciles them in the general funds. The sheriff's department doesn't have whoever reconciles them. The jail has who reconciles them, and they do a nice job. I've got a detailed answer as to how they do it, but it still doesn't answer the question of we need to see the accounts and we need to see what's going in and what's going out.
But do they use, does it say in there that they use Excel? I thought they did.
I don't know if it does or not. I don't see that it says they use Excel.
Didn't we get a report that says Excel?
I think so. From the jail?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do get a report from the jail, but you don't see the account itself. And that's one of the stopgaps that I think is an important issue.
So what if we start with one account at a time
Agreed.
and see how that works? I believe the county attorney uses Excel.
If the county attorney, if I may, I don't believe has any deposit accounts.
Yeah, they're not on here.
They don't have any accounts that I recall.
All right, they get no money.
Well, everything flows through, I believe, the general fund with them.
All right, so let's see. Now, I don't think Will makes deposits. He brings his deposits over here.
Yes, to the general fund.
So he doesn't have a separate
Nope.
account.
Nope. The separate accounts that you have, I've got a list here,
Yeah,
and you have the same list.
yes.
You have the general fund, the MVC transfer account, the cafe account at the Mountain View. You have the sheriff has execution account, writ account, electronic deposit account, and CCDTF, whatever that is. You have the jail, the registry of deeds, which is already being done. You also have the patient's personal account and the gift card account, also through MVC. And those are reconciled by Paula Coates.
I was trying to think of what would be a small account to see how difficult or how easy it is to transfer into an Excel as similar to Lisa uses.
I would think the cafe one would be pretty small, especially now.
Now it's pretty small, I think, too. Yeah. Lisa?
Commissioner, from what I'm hearing here, it isn't necessarily Excel that's the answer. It's the reconciliation of this pot with this pot with this pot to make sure they all fit together properly.
Exactly.
So
But that's easiest, I believe, with Excel.
maybe, unless they already have something that does that, you just don't have that data being given to you. It might be as simple as that.
If I may, I don't know the answer to that. That's why I'm bringing it up to the commissioners. I would like to enlist Registry Scott with that process, and or the commissioners, or however you would like to proceed, as long as we can get from point A to point B in a reasonable fashion without too much difficulty.
What do you think, Terry?
Well, I think we should make a motion that we do this and just start going right down the list, one at a time, and getting them all on board, having Lisa work with them and Joe. You know, I mean, not something that we have to do tomorrow, but we'd like it done, you know, within a certain time.
I must say, I do feel that as treasurer, I do not have my arms around what's going on from a financial standpoint in the total county operation because of this, because I don't see these accounts, period. And it's not that I'm, if you will, trying to look at everybody's accounts, it's that I'm trying to review and make sure there's no discrepancies. And that's something that I think has been sorely lacking for a long, long time.
David, when you came, a number of years ago, tried to get him to reconcile accounts, right?
He's on mute.
His mute is on.
David, we can't hear you.
His microphone is still muted.
Yeah.
You're still muted. You've got to unmute yourself. Did he?
No.
There.
How about that?
That's
That's
better.
right.
Good. Good.
So I'm not touching anything on this computer, and all of a sudden, I get a whole nother window, and I find myself muted, and I'm sitting here with my hands in my lap. And I don't know what's going on. Yes, I did. When my first year here is when the money disappeared, and I went and made a spreadsheet, and that lasted 2 or 3 months, with some people filling it in and some people not filling it in. But there wasn't any support from the other 2 commissioners to get it done or get out. And I'm all in favor of helping Joe with the support of you 2, getting these things reconciled. You can't run a business without reconciling your checkbook.
I agree.
I agree. You've got to know what's going on. And but my question is the procedure to get from here to there. We know what we want in the end, and we know where we're at, but how do we get from here to there?
Why don't we just take one account at a time and let Lisa show the department head what we want? We all agree that we want it. Let her tutor them and get it done. And we get one done, then do the next one.
I think that's putting an awful lot of responsibility on Lisa. I think Lisa and Joe together should do it. Really.
Well, that's fine.
Madam Chair, could I make a suggestion?
Can you 2 work together?
Well, I can't work with her at all, no.
Oh, jeez. That's it.
I'm sorry, I'm teasing, you know that.
I know that. I know, and I can see you laugh. That's true. But that's what I was thinking too. Yes.
Do you mind if I make since we're not exactly clear what reconcile reporting is already being done or processes that each department is already following, I was wondering if you might consider requesting from all of the different account holding departments to provide their reconciliation reports for the month of March by a date in April, so you can have a good look at what everyone's doing first before you decide if you're not getting the data, they're not doing it at all, or exactly where we are.
Well, that's why I think Lisa and Joe should go to each department head and say, okay, this is what we'd like to know, is how are you reconciling and what does it look like and how can we get the information to Joe and the commissioners?
And I was just suggesting maybe also, Madam Chair, that come from the commissioners in support of the treasurer, what the treasurer's trying to do. That
Well-
it comes from the Board of Commissioners, a letter or an email or something of that sort, ahead of him going to departments.
Well, that's why I think Joe should go with Lisa. I think it should be a joint effort. And maybe,
Or a motion today that I can send to everyone or something.
well,
Gives them your support.
what I was going to suggest was that if we send out a notice to each of the reconciliators as listed on there, that Joe and Lisa are going to be working with them individually, and then let Joe and Lisa pick the one department at a time to work with. Comment, Joe?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to follow up on what Melissa mentioned. I'm concerned that we might get 10 different styles of report, and I'm trying to get this standardized. So I would really prefer that, if possible, that Lisa and I both can go and sit and see what they're doing and show them what we would like, and see if there's an easy method to get it to that, what I'll use the term as standard report.
Correct, that you get the information you
Yeah.
need in some sort of a
Standardized
understanding
format.
form, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that sound sensible to you, Terry?
Yes, it does.
David?
Yes.
Okay, so how do we make a motion like that? The commissioners would like to request,
Direct.
Yes.
well, let me see.
It looks like, I mean, we've only got 6 people here, so it shouldn't,
I would, if I may, Madam Chair, I would prefer it to go through the department heads.
David, have you got your hand up, or are you just scratching your ear?
With a knife.
he's got a knife.
Scratching my ear.
Jeez. Okay, I thought you might have a way of making this motion. But you don't really want to work with the department heads, you want to work with the people doing the reconciliation.
I think it's important, Madam Chair, to have the department heads in this project, and they can direct whoever is doing it too. But I think you have to have the support of the department heads, or this process may not work.
Why do we need a motion, Madam Chairman? We all know what we need to do.
I think we just need to send out a memo to all department heads, asking them telling them what we want, and
That we'll be
Yeah.
contacting them.
that Joe and Lisa will be contacting them to set up an appointment or a meeting. And to make sure they have this, this, and this.
You can make a meeting with the department head and the person doing the
Sure, yes,
reconciliation.
yeah.
But I think you're right, the department head shouldn't be usurped, it should go.
How's that sound, David?
Good. I don't think we need a motion, just send out a memo and tell them what we're gonna do. Don't ask them, tell them.
Exactly.
Do you want me to work on that?
Melissa,
Yes.
could you put together such a memo,
Yes.
send a copy of it to the commissioners for our approval,
Yep.
and
May I see it too, please?
Of course.
including the department heads and their people that are listed as reconciliators.
Okay.
And then you, Joe and Lisa, you'll contact them, and
Yes.
that way you can pick which department you want to start with first. And-
Lisa and I will meet and go over which ones we'd like to start with and go from there.
Does that sound okay, David?
Yep.
Is that okay, Terry?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. There we go.
Okay, next item, as I said.
Oh, no, that's all you're allowed is
no,
one.
I'm a long way from being done, believe me.
It's lunchtime. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Well, I appreciate Melissa letting me go in front of her. So I noticed today in going through the bills, I think we're getting photocopies of the bills, and that's okay, but the documentation isn't always there. And in addition to that, there's a number of them that have not been approved for payment. I shouldn't say a number, there's a few of them that have not been approved for payment. I don't think it's a big issue. They do have the proverbial purple check mark or stamp, but nobody signed off on it.
No department head okay?
Right, and in particular, and I'm not picking on Will, I know he's not here, but his was one of them for some equipment stuff that he bought.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Lisa.
there's a couple others in there, so I just want the commissioners to be aware of that. You may want to make some decisions about making sure they're approved for payment. Ultimately, you guys approve them anyway, but
Can I ask a question, Joe? I don't mean to interrupt.
yes.
So what should be coming to the commissioners to be pre-approved to be paid, now that we don't have an administrator? Where did this stuff go to that's billed to the commissioner's budget? Shouldn't we be getting pre-copies of those?
Yeah, I'm not talking about specific departments' budgets. What I'm talking about is the total bills in general each
Right.
week. And so I believe those go through the finance department. They all go through the finance department. So if the question is about what's being charged to the commissioner's budget, that's a different subject in my mind.
Because I believe there are some things the commissioners should be approving that we've never seen.
Yeah. Well, I have to...
We never see them.
Yes, I have to say, you know, we do have the process a little bit backwards here. You guys, I'm sorry, the commissioners should really be going through these before I get them to sign them. What we're doing now is I'm going through them, checking them all, signing them, and then giving them to the commissioners. Probably should be the other way around, because I'm not supposed to sign it unless the commissioners approve it. And so at the time the commissioners are looking at it, like Commissioner Babson does too, and we all do, as you're looking through the items in there, you're checking to see that somebody has approved them, the department or department head.
Generally, if they're not approved, I either call the department head or
Right.
something.
And in order to streamline things and not hold up payments, I usually know there's something that somebody just missed, they didn't put their initials on it or what have you. And so now I'll go ahead and sign the check. But my point is, I want to make sure the checks and balances are all equal here. A lot of times I'll make a note on this bill that says not approval or approval needed.
May I suggest that when you and Lisa meet with the department heads, you
Yes.
reiterate that?
Yes, we will. We will.
And
So we've got that piece covered.
I'll keep calling and giving them lectures.
Thank you. So I guess my next question was, has there been a review of the first quarter financials yet?
We have them.
What is your question, Joe?
Has there been a review of the first quarter financials? The reason I asked this question is I have not seen them yet.
I think we just got
We
them.
got them a couple of weeks ago.
No, just last.
Yeah, they came a couple of weeks ago, but I have not received any yet.
Did you ask Kathy for a copy?
No, I'm about to, but I just wanted you guys to know that the treasurer's not getting the information again. I'm not faulting anybody, I'm just saying, hey, for some reason, some of this stuff seems to be slipping through the cracks.
I believe that's on the website, isn't it?
It is?
Well, I will speak with the finance department and find out, but like I said, I'll come back to my original question. Is there going to be a review of them? I was under the impression that we were going to go through them and review them.
Why don't we put that on the agenda for next Wednesday?
Did we start that? Oh, we started it last week, but Terry wasn't here, so we decided to wait, right? David, the review of the financials, and the revenue isn't there. No?
Yeah, there was
I
no,
don't remember starting them.
Maybe we just talked about them. Did we talk about them?
I don't think we did that either.
If I may, Madam Chair, perhaps I was incorrect, but when I saw a week or two ago, the agenda, it did say review of financials with the finance department, and I was concerned or questioning why that person wasn't here to do that.
And yes, it was my fault.
Right.
Because I asked her for the financials, but I never asked her to follow up with coming too.
Okay.
Well, because I think they're pretty straightforward. I don't realize that it would take explanation.
The first quarter, perhaps you're right, but I think as time marches on, would be nice to have the fiscal department present those.
Okay, but you gotta give me a reason why I should pull her out of her office to come up here to present numbers that are pretty obvious.
I guess I would answer your question with a question, Madam Chair. Do you always see the finance numbers as being not obvious or correct? Or do you occasionally see questions with them? So what I'm saying is the person who's preparing them ought to be the one who's presenting them.
Well, we get them ahead of time, so I would think if we've had any questions.
Is there a reason you do not want that person to come and present these?
No, except that she's busy, and to come up
The
here.
jury's still out on that piece, if you would.
If there are questions, then I expect that she would certainly come and answer them. But I
guess we agree to
did not see
disagree on that.
anything on the first quarter financials that were any questions at all. Except maybe what Howie answered today about why they're under on their expenses, but
Well, I just think that the person who's doing the input ought to be the one presenting it. That's all I'll say.
well, because any questions I had, I would think would be with the department heads. You know, for example, if Registry of Deeds was off, one way or the other, then I would ask the Registry of Deeds why.
I agree. But if I'm hearing that quite often there has to be adjustments made, I'd like to hear about it. And quite frankly, in my mind, it kind of ties back to what happened in 2013. There was a lack of information. Now, it's not my position to tell the commissioners what to do. I don't mean to say that at all. All I'm doing is making a suggestion.
Well, the three of us, we've all had the financials for 2 weeks now. Did you have any questions on them, David?
No.
Did you, Tim?
No, we were substantially, or 2 or 3 percentage points under a quarter for the entire complex. So I think we were at 22 or 23%, which is pretty good because that figure includes a lot of the charges we have to pay in January and February for the year.
Including,
So that's pretty
yes.
good.
I thought so. My biggest question was for Howie, and that was why they were under. But, you know, he explained that to me before, but he also verbally explained it today that in the first quarter, they don't have a lot of their big expenses. Did you have any questions?
Not really questions, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the finance person to be up here when we do review every quarter. I don't think that's unreasonable, whether we have questions or not. I mean, the first quarter, there was hardly anything there anyway, really. So I understand that one. But we're going to have a lot more on the second quarter and third quarter. I don't think it's unreasonable to have her up here for just that portion. Put her on first thing in the morning. Make her the first thing on the agenda or whatever, and limit it. And we have our questions ready. And just say, you know, why is this, this, and this? And just, I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's good to have it in the public, myself.
Transparency, if you may.
David, you had a question?
No, I have a comment. if it's crazy to have the finance person come up so that she can answer questions, why do we have a finance person?
If there were questions, that's fine. I don't see any problems with that if there's questions. But my comment was I didn't see any questions on this one, so, but we can certainly ask her to come up if we have questions. And I don't think there'd be any objection to that whatsoever from anybody.
I think if we're discussing revenues and expenses, the person that's in charge of the department, who knows more about it than all of us put together, should be just there if she just to sit there and listen.
I agree, David, if I may. I think that also she should be prepared to answer any questions that come up. You know, if she knows we're doing it, then she's going to be prepared. If she knows she has to be here to answer any questions.
Would you two like to go over the first quarter financials next week?
I think if there's any question that we should, next week we should let you know that we have the questions, and the week after that, have Kathy come up and explain why they're there. I looked at them and it looked to me like county-wide we were doing pretty well.
Okay, so do we need to go over first quarter financials? Or are we all right with what we have?
I think we should, as the three people that are managing supposedly managing the budget, I think we should.
We should.
Okay, so you want to do that next week?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want Kathy present next week when we do that?
Yes.
I agree.
All right, Melissa,
Yes.
would you send Kathy an email telling her we're going over first quarter financials next week? Give her a time
Okay.
and, request her presence.
Okay. Would you like her first on the agenda so she can get back to work?
I
By
would-
9:30 probably?
I would think so, and that would get Joe free too.
Okay. Yep. Can I ask a question? Also in the interest of trying to think ahead to the delegation meeting. I know that the first quarter financials that were released are draft, and she had made that clear, so they were posted on the website with the word draft. And the revenues were complete through the end of January. Considering this time, the revenue might actually be of the greatest concern, any changes in revenue during this pandemic time. Did she say when the revenues might be done for the...
I would expect that they would be done next Wednesday if she's coming up to talk about first quarter.
Okay, thank you.
You might put in there that we are going to discuss the first quarter expenses and revenues and request her presence.
And revenue, okay, thank you. Yep,
And request that they're up to date.
As much as possible, yeah.
Yes.
okay, will do.
We're going to review the up-to-date revenue and expenses and request her presence.
I understand, thank you.
So,
Okay.
Moving right along, Madam Chair, I was curious, has the commissioners heard any more news about where the Avenue project is?
Let me think.
Last I knew, there was an email approximately a month or so ago that things were behind a little on their end and a little on our end, but I haven't heard anything since.
I believe, not last Friday, but the Friday before that, when I was talking with Kathy, she said that because of this pandemic, everything is kind of in hold, so to speak. But we could ask her for an update on that at the same time.
Yes.
I have not gotten an email update from her for a couple of weeks. And she's been pretty good about sending those out. David?
Yes, that was under my commissioner's comments. I wanted to say that we hadn't heard anything about the Avenue project. Where is it? It was supposed to be, they promised it would be done by the end of April. They've pretty much managed to put it off for 6 or 8 months. Let's get this thing done.
I agree.
Well, we can ask her, Melissa can add to that memo that we would like an update on the Avenue project too. Is that all right?
And I don't want to hear about a pandemic. They're in business. They got people working too. And, you know, it should be, it might slow down, but it shouldn't come to a halt.
Well, I think if Kathy's supposed to be doing something, if they're doing something down here, I think that all of this new COVID coding and all of that has been eating up any extra time they might have. But we can request.
Madam Chair, since we have a week, should we request something in writing from Avenue on the status of their contract fulfillment?
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, I'll add that, thank you.
Next, one last thing. Thank you very much for my patience, or your patience, I'm sorry.
That's our Freudian slip, wasn't it?
Do we have,
My mask is full.
yes, do we have many staff working from home at this time?
No.
Okay.
But did you ask, Joe?
Do we have many staff working from home at this time?
Only a couple.
Okay.
Well, no. Maybe 7.
7, okay. So, I don't mind being the bad guy, if you will, but as treasurer, watching the nickels and dimes and dollars and pennies, what I'm wondering about, how do we know that or what they're doing from home? Is it possible that maybe we could have a daily item log of what they're doing, time in and time out, and they turn those into the human resources so that we know that they're doing stuff at home? I'm not saying they're not, but I just think you need a stopgap measure to verify it.
I do believe the Register of Deeds is doing that,
Okay.
checking morning and evening with Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the county attorney's office is also doing that with at least an afternoon meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about a morning meeting.
I think she does one in the morning and the afternoon.
But my question to the commissioners is, do you know that this work is being performed and completed? How do you know that? Now, they're telling you that they're doing a Zoom meeting. That's excellent. I'm not faulting that. But as managers of this agency, how do you verify that?
Well, if we want a report, we could ask the department head to give us an update, whether it be daily or weekly, on what's being done at home with the people that are working at home.
That's the documentation that I think should be provided.
I don't know if we want it daily or weekly, or however we want to put that. We should get it every Wednesday, maybe, while we're here.
I do know.
Do you think, David?
I do know that the Registry of Deeds and the county attorney have those logs.
Good.
So all we need to do is ask them to share.
Yes.
Jason, I do believe that the person in the jail system that's working from home is in contact with them several times a day. I do not know if there's a report, but we can request a report. David, do you know if anybody at the nursing home is working at home?
Madam Chair, the HR director has a comment if you would like to hear it.
The HR person is the only one that I knew. The county attorney, many moons ago, said she wasn't going to be working in the office on Friday. So on Friday, she's probably working at home. And Bonnie has been working at home because of illness in the family. So that's the only two I know.
Okay. Is she muted? Did you mute her?
She is muted, but she's typing. There she is. Go ahead. Do you want to say hi to her?
Good morning, Bonnie. Bonnie?
She says she doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, geez, sorry. She's in the office. She says she's in the office. She says the employees are reporting the work that they're performing remotely to their supervisors. That there are staff in the county attorney's office, Mountain View, and the House of Corrections that are working remotely.
So apparently she can't hear either.
She can hear because she's responding to our conversation, typing. She just doesn't have a microphone in her office, I guess.
Well, I don't think that's another unreasonable request, is that they just give us a copy of their log on Wednesdays of what's happening at home.
Okay.
So that would be a separate email to the department heads.
How many employees do you have working from home? How are they reporting to you, that sort of
No,
thing?
no, we don't care how.
or
We
what
just
they're
would like to
doing.
have their logs, their weekly log on Wednesday as to what they're doing and how
She's
many
saying that
hours.
can be conveyed to the department heads too.
Yep, so that's a separate email you want me to send out to them? Okay, yep.
And I just want to plant a seed. We should be thinking about getting our 2019 audit going. Whether the books are ready to be closed or not. We're almost to the end of April. They should have been closed by now.
We need to also be looking at our 2021 budget,
That's correct.
so. All right. Next.
Thank you very much.
Joe, do you have any Hales? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, nothing to report on Hales.
Okay, thank you.
In fact, I'm going to ask if the commissioners approve it, that we fold Hales into the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Because the only time I'm going to have anything to say on Hales is either when they're writing a check or at the end of the month or...
David, what do you think about that? Not having a separate Hales report. We need a separate Hales report, I think, because that's when we're supposed to be acting as selectmen, right? Would you unmute him?
No, he's muted. His microphone is
He's
muted.
doing it. Unmute. Ding, ding, right here.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah, I think we should report it if we got anything. It doesn't take any time to put it on the agenda, and if we don't have anything, skip over it. But I have a report on Hales today.
Very good. I have no objection to that then.
Okay. So we'll go back to the executive coordinator report, then we'll do the Hales report, okay? David?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Melissa, your report?
Sure, thank you. Let's see. The first thing I wanted to bring to you, and I provided the commissioners all with a copy of it. I don't know if you... and Commissioner Babson, I emailed a copy of this to you this morning. It's a draft of what I've started doing as sort of a roadmap for the rest of the year to just keep track of all the things that are in the 2020 budget by department and what the status of those items are. So, for example, when you approve an RFP, then the project would be in the project column, the status would be in the status column, and any notes like if the contract was awarded or if the work had begun. And that's just to help you to keep track of things and hopefully help you to plan out the next 7 months. And so it's just a draft. I haven't reached out to the department heads to review it to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I was just basing it on all the conversations in the subcommittees and at delegation and in our budget sessions and just trying to create one place for you to go to remember the processes that you need to do this year. So I hope you support me finishing that. What else do I have? Work is continuing on the website. I've been working alongside the administrative assistant in the office, very helpful, doing some redesign things, and also it's going to take some time. It's not something that'll happen overnight, but again, welcome anyone's input on being able to use it. I wanted to especially thank all of the department heads for their help in getting the agendas and the packets, helping me get those together on Fridays and getting it out to the commissioners so you have several days to review your materials and make follow-up questions and so forth, so that I feel it helps people be better prepared for the Wednesday meetings. I hope you're finding it helpful as well, commissioners. Last week, Mark McConkey, former Representative McConkey, was on site working on the
Trail.
walking path by the nursing home, and he had met with Will, and he had met with the DPW director, who will work with them to provide a place to dump trees and limbs. They scratched open roughly the opening of the trail. And then I got an update from him this morning that says we prepped the pathway, grabbed most of the trees and brush. You can see the path now and where the bridge will go. As of today, Coleman Concrete is donating the large concrete block needed to support the bridge. Warren Paris is donating the handrails for the bridge. Jay of JJS Property Services will donate hydro seeding where necessary. And of course, McConkey Construction with the topography and the drafting by Jake McConkey. They're donating that, the bridge frame, and the labor. He could use a welder to true up the frame, attach the railings, and prep the frame for a wood deck. Also, the stone from the nursing home, when that was demolished, from the nursing home roof is not nearly enough.
No, it was from the administration roof.
Oh, I'm sorry, the administration roof. McConkey says he will work with a local pit and see who wants the opportunity to donate and or discount. And the project will also need wood decking if anyone would like to donate or has an idea on that. So that's the update from Mr. McConkey.
That's the agricultural committee.
And yes, and I'm sure you had that under comments probably too, but.
Could we put that on the website that we're looking for people to donate certain things? I mean, we might get some kind of response.
That's the agricultural
Right.
committee. We can certainly put that on there. And we should also put on thank yous for the people
To
that
the
have
ones that
already
have, yes.
donated. Could you do that, Melissa?
Good
Yeah.
idea.
I was actually going to ask if you'd like me to draft letters to those, get the contact information from Mr. McConkey and actually send letters from the commissioners.
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
Actually, we have lovely little cards
Oh, okay.
that are in, yes, I have them in my desk, so I
Okay.
will get them for you.
Great. Oh, thank you.
Remind me.
And then the commissioner's office, the county received a check this week from Mr. Dunn, the logger, who was reimbursing the county for the timber tax that the county paid to the town of Waspy. So that check, for the record, is $215.53. That was received.
David, shall we send our forester a thank you letter for that?
We can. I thanked her last night at the advisory board.
When did you know it came?
Pardon me?
When did you know we had it?
Did I know that we had it? Yes.
I said, when did you know that we got the check?
Yesterday or Monday.
Thank you, Melissa, for telling me that.
We weren't sure.
Why is that an issue, Madam Chairman?
Well, because I wanted to know how long ago it came. Because if we send her a thank you note and it happened 3 weeks ago, then it's a little, late. But if it happened.
We talked about it last week, so it couldn't have come 2 weeks ago.
No, it was received in the commissioner's office on the 16th, and I think a conversation with Wendy Scribner on another matter brought to light what this was. Initially, in the office, we didn't want to open it because it wasn't marked, and we were afraid it might be one of Will's bids. So we didn't want to open it until today, when we were sure that it was timber tax money, so. And then, I had one more thing, and I wanted to ask the commissioners, we pay annual dues to the New Hampshire Municipal Association, and as part of that, they offer for free that you can post RFPs and positions for hire. So I wanted to know if the commissioners had any objection to using that as another outlet to get the word out when we have available positions or requests for proposals that are out.
Interesting. I see no objection, do you? Terry?
Not at this point.
No, I mean, it's free,
Okay.
right?
I would like to, because I have fun with technology, just wanted to show you real quick. But I can't connect, so never mind, but it's there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I could send you the link of what it looks like when the RFPs are on there, but it goes obviously to a lot of organizations, so.
Cool.
Well, it says they've utilized that for employee postings too.
Okay, they have in the past to advertise positions there, so, okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else?
No, unless you have questions for me. I have a couple of things for non-public, but that's, yeah, thank you.
Terry, do you have any questions
I
for
do not.
Melissa?
No.
David, do you have any questions
this
for
point.
Melissa?
No?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
Are you opposed to a 5-minute recess, or can I just excuse myself for a few minutes? Sorry. 3
We are
minutes.
pretty close to taking a 5-minute recess to go into non-public.
Okay. I just,
Okay.
if I could, it's
If you can.
It's being recorded on Zoom, so I'll be okay with the minutes, if you don't mind.
All right, David, do you have something about Hale's location?
Yes. I contacted the Department of Education, as you two requested, and talked to the person that in charge of educational something, spending or paying out, or Miss Davis, who was mentioned today, Catalina Davis, already somebody mentioned her today. And she said she would get back to me this week about whether we can pay Freiburg Academy or whether it has to go to a school district within our county. I pointed out that Chatham sends all of their students to Freiburg Academy.
Did you find out where Chatham sends its USDA check?
No, that wasn't, nobody asked me to do that. I would call the department to see if we could send it, because they told us they wouldn't, a couple of years ago, they wouldn't give student aid to another state if they were doing our students. So I just called her to find out whether we could take the check, because as you read it to me, it said a school district within the county.
Right,
And of
yeah.
course, Freiburg isn't in our county.
Right. Well, I was just curious because Chatham does send all its children to Maine, what they did with their USDA check. That was my question.
Well, when she calls me back, if it's a negative answer, I'll ask her that question.
All right. Anything else? David, we'll do it in the commissioner update.
You what?
Never mind, I'll do it in the commissioner updates. Which is where we're at now. Commissioner updates. David, do you have commissioner updates?
Only that we had the monthly cooperative extension by Zoom. And I have to tell you, the county, the cooperative extension is really doing an excellent job in maintaining its activities in this hard time of social distancing and no meetings, etc. I was really impressed with the work they're doing.
Anything exciting we should know about up there?
Not yet. They discussed some of the fairs, I guess. Stratum, I think, and somebody else. I don't want to put out the bad word. I didn't write it down. But two of the three fairs, the Lancaster Fair was one of them, have decided they won't hold the fair this year.
Okay. I kind of thought that. Sad, but so. Okay. Anything else, David?
I'm looking over my notes. No, I don't have. There was some discussion about working on this internet and broadband project up in Albany, and that's moving forward slowly, but it is moving forward.
Okay, good. Good. Terry, any commissioner updates? You didn't want to ask about the thing up Mount Washington?
Oh, no, I haven't heard back from them, so I don't know.
Can't hear you.
I had a question about the conference in the Mount Washington Hotel that's scheduled for May. I didn't know if it had been canceled yet. And I thought that we should, as a county, eliminate it on our schedule. It's, instead of, normally we send, I don't know, several people there. I don't think we should this year. Bailey, do you have anything? I don't know if anybody's even scheduled to go this year, but I would expect
that would be a wise decision.
Money-wise, and also why send them up there, because there's hundreds of people up there for that, if they have it. So I would like to cancel that if anybody has signed up. I don't know.
Right, I don't see any point in making any more deposits, do you?
No. I wasn't planning on attending this year anyway. I think once was enough for me.
Well,
It's a big expense, and I think if you go every other year or every couple of years, that's fine, but I don't think it's necessary to go every year.
so you want
That's
to
all.
just cancel?
I would like to, if you other two would agree.
Well, you got to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we cancel any out-of-state or in-state conferences, at least until,
Further notice.
pardon?
Further notice.
Until further notice.
You want to second that, David?
No, I want to change it.
Okay.
I would like to go maybe month to month. I would agree that we cancel going in the month of May.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
if we have to, then June or July, and keep it going until it opens up, and then we can put it back on. But I don't want to say it for the year.
no, I just said until further notice.
For further notice.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you, David, or you wanted? Because a lot of these places.
I think I'm getting a message from Superintendent Henry that says the activity is canceled anyway.
Okay. I thought it would be, but
So
okay.
I would second the motion, Terry, if you change it at least till the month of May.
Yeah. Till the end of May. Okay. I don't
And
have
then
a
we
problem
can,
with it.
the last week of May, we can change it to June if we
Okay.
have to.
That's fine with me.
Okay, so the motion is that no county employees attend any conferences in May.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
In state or out of state.
Second for discussion. Do
Okay,
we really mean any conferences? We don't know whether the nurses have something down in Concord or who knows what, but I thought we were aiming at the big one at the Mount
Yeah,
Washington.
we were. Yeah, I think, I would doubt that anybody from the nursing home would be going to anything. I think everything's shut down anyway, but I'm happy as long as the Mount Washington one is canceled. That's fine.
That's all mine.
so we should cancel any attendance at the Mount Washington Hotel?
Well, he said that had been canceled anyway.
Oh, it is? Oh, so the whole thing is moved?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
but I think it's something we should look at, like you say, on a month-to-month basis and make a decision monthly.
Yes, I do too.
So do you want to leave it to cancel? Well, you don't know.
Well, how about,
Why don't we just go month to month? In the last week of
Yeah.
May, we can say,
yeah,
let's keep it going or not keep it going. We don't need a motion for everything.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. Okay, that's all I had.
All right. We had talked about the annex, and Bob had said that the architect would talk to us, but we had to have some ideas. And I had brought it up at a department head meeting, and I got no ideas from any department heads. Did either of you get any ideas?
Not
No
really.
one mentioned anything to me.
No.
Because all I have is that David mentioned it as a garage, and Terry mentioned it as offices for the sheriff's department.
I've also mentioned many times that it would be a very, very low cost for us transition housing where the inmates could stay 2 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks and then they're out.
Should we continue forward with this and ask the architect to come in and discuss those options anyways? Maybe send another email to the department heads asking if anyone's got any others that they didn't tell us about?
Could do that. I think now.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, David?
you know, this is a very sore subject with me. I put hours and hours into trying to get the parole board in here. Passed out all the papers. The delegation never looked at it. Speaker of the House at that time, or former Speaker, Representative Chandler said, well, you can't count on the government paying their bills, and it just went down the drain. I'm not in favor of putting any more effort into it until we get a commitment from the delegation that what they want us to do. We spent 36 or 35, somewhere around there, to draw up a plan, have an architect draw up a plan when the county extension wanted to move there, and Representative McConkey wanted them to pay for all the repairs before they moved in. So that went, and that continued with that delegation. I'm not willing to put in any more effort until they give us a commitment of what they want to do and what they'll support.
Well, I think if we don't show them some sort of a plan or some sort of a direction that it's still gonna stay as a stalemate. You know, if we can show that, okay, look, we need to do this and this to put in a garage and a transitional housing, and we can get both in the building, and the architect has, you know, said the plans, he can do something with that, or, you know, something. I don't think you're gonna get any firm confirmation from them unless you have that. We have a different delegation now, too.
You know, I was thinking more or less, no, we don't wanna have a facility where criminals are put up, or inmates are put up next to the nursing home, so that's out. We don't want a garage because the fumes when you start the vehicles might hamper somebody else in the building. I just want some general direction where they're gonna go, so we're not chasing our tail. We've had 5 people, I believe, come and look at that place, and they've all said no. Unfortunately, the one that was gonna go ended up with the individual getting sick, so. That we couldn't, nobody's to blame for that.
Well, if I may.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is it's just sitting there deteriorating even more. And from what I understand, there are parts of it that are usable. And in the end, it's going to cost more to have that torn down than it would for us to renovate parts of it in different phases and use it. I mean, the county's growing. The sheriff's department, they need more room. County attorney is already looking for 2 more offices. I would like to see us renovate part of that and maybe move the whole administration building over there and let the sheriff have the whole downstairs and maybe the county attorney this wing. I'd like to see some use for
Well,
it.
let the delegation tell us, Terry, you're right, let the delegation say, yeah, we'll support office space over there. Or we'll support a garage or something, and then we know, what we do. We spent a lot of money with the advisor, the cooperative extension, and then they said no.
Well, I think that I'll work on that.
What about if we just send an email out to each individual member of the delegation and list these suggestions we have and see if they would support any of them?
Good idea.
I can do that, I can talk to them. Absolutely.
We've got a person here that has all those addresses. So it was office space, transitional housing, a garage. What else? There were 4.
Daycare center, employee daycare center. Which makes sense if you can handle the asbestos that however much there is in it.
There isn't.
Don't forget, we got the laundry and the
Right.
and the pellet heater in there, so we can't, and maintenance, so we can't tear the building down.
No.
Not unless we build a new one. That's what I said when they tore the wing down.
Would you like me to give them these suggestions and then open it to
To
any
their
that they might
suggestions?
have?
Certainly. Oh, yes, yes. We're open to all kinds of suggestions, except that we're going to have to pay to get it fixed.
Well, if we can start to plant the seeds now and really start taking certain things into consideration, I mean, we're looking at something that might happen, 2 or 3 years down the road, but it's
Well,
the
we
future.
could start it in the 2021 budget.
Right, we could start one phrase, which would be cleaning it out.
You just want to go clean it out, I know, yes. Okay. All right, that was all the updates. That was mine.
Okay.
Do you want me to put that out to the department heads again as well?
Yes,
Okay,
I thought that was mentioned.
yeah, okay. It might have been, I'm sorry.
let's see. Are there any media questions? Any public input?
I have a media question from Damon, if you'd allow it. I got an email from him. I know.
Yeah, was he in the meeting today?
He wasn't able to come
No, he
to
wasn't
join
on.
today.
Okay.
The only question he had is, he's just following up on a question from last week. Again, as things evolve, do the commissioners have any intention of furloughing any county employees?
I will repeat the statement I made last week. We don't have any employees to furlough. All of our people
I
are...
didn't hear the question, Madam
I'm
Chairman.
sorry.
The question from Damon was, do we intend to furlough any county employees? And I was making the same statement I made last week, which is, we have no employees to furlough. All of our employees are essential. The delegation keeps us on such a tight budget that we have just the minimum amount of people we need here anyways. Would you like to add to that, Terry?
Well, I don't see how we can possibly furlough anybody from the nursing home, or the House of Corrections, or the Sheriff's Department. And even though the courts are closed, they're still having, the county attorney's office is still up and running, and preparing and doing some court cases. And the Registry of Deeds, they're busy. I don't, other than maybe furloughing the commissioners.
Oh, I'm in favor of that.
I don't see how we can furlough anybody.
You want to add anything to that, David?
No, I agree with what Terry said.
Thank you.
Okay. I await a motion to go into non-public.
Madam Chairman,
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
before we do that, what about these letters that we got? One about the dogs in the county attorney's office, and I guess the key situation was taken care of. Are we going? Those aren't non-public. Are we
I
gonna
haven't
discuss them today?
I haven't been able to investigate them, have you? Do you know who the person in deeds was that complained about an odor?
Well, I know that the person that cleaned it up said it was dog poop.
May I ask when this occurred?
I don't know. We got an email from somebody here in the packet.
Because when I got this, I thought, in my personal opinion, how can anybody down in the Registry of Deeds office smell something that was up in the county attorney's office that was that bad? So I called Lisa and asked her, and she said they did have a very bad odor downstairs, like a sewage odor, but when they investigated, they found out it was from a bad battery pack. And as soon as they found that, had burned or something, and it had a horrible odor. They got rid of it. They're going to have to get a new one. But that was the odor that they were smelling.
When was
And
that?
I don't know. We should call her up here and ask her. She said she knew nothing
Well, then
about.
why did we get this letter?
I don't know. I don't know who got the letter. I mean, Melissa got the letter, but who it came from.
So I wrote up the memo
Right?
based on an email that I received from the maintenance director, Bob Murray.
So we should find out from Bob.
Okay.
And when this occurred, because I also then called Michaela and asked her if they had dogs in there. And the county attorney said she was there all day Friday, and there were no dogs in the office. So my question was, when did this occur, and how, and who, and when?
Well, you know, we brought this up 6 months ago. We had the yapping puppy across the street. I couldn't hear. I mentioned it. Amanda said, "Oh, I can't hear it." It was John or Ed was at the camera, and he said, "I can hear it." We're not running a kennel or a daycare center. Why are they in here? Why aren't they working? It takes time to go out and walk a dog. It takes all kinds of time to take care of a 2-year-old. I just don't understand why it's happening.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that little dog in here for a long, long time, have you?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Well, yeah.
Well, only in fairness to Heather, only once in probably the last 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
but it has been in here. And well, why are we bringing dogs into the county attorney and the victim witness office? Why are some employees allowed to bring their children when others have to pay for a daycare center? That doesn't seem fair to me either.
I didn't know anybody was bringing in their children. I haven't seen anything. I mean, if you know more than I do.
Well, you voted to pay her when she left, so.
That was 2 years ago.
Oh, that was before me.
No, it was not. It was not.
That she was here 2 years ago?
Absolutely was not. It was a year ago. It was 15, 16 months ago. It wasn't 2 years ago.
Well, the baby's over 2, I believe. I think she just had a 2-year birthday, so.
It doesn't make any difference. Why can some employees bring their kids to work and be paid while they're doing their job, and when the child wants the mother's attention, I'm assuming they're going to get it, and other employees can't bring their children? It isn't. You ought to treat all employees the same.
Can we get back to the dog issue and the fact that you just said the dog hasn't been here for 3 or 4 months? So when did this event occur?
I don't know. But that's not the only dog that's been there. We had one point, we had 5 dogs there, or 4 dogs. And who knows when the dog left it, or if it was even the dog. I'm assuming Bob Murray knows the difference between the smell of a blown-up battery and a dog food. Maybe that's a different.
Well, maybe we should ask Bob about this and find out exactly some follow-up, when it happened, how it happened, and whether it was actually a dog or it was a battery, and if it happened 6 months ago or 6 hours ago.
And I will add one more thing. In talking to the county attorney about this, she said she would have no problem if we stopped allowing people to bring dogs into the building. She would not have a problem with that. So she's willing to work with us. But I would just like to find out when this happened and how it occurred. And
they didn't give you any more details than that?
No, just that it was
We need more information, that's for sure.
discovered on the morning of April 16th.
It was April 16th?
Yeah,
So that was last Thursday morning.
yep.
So there must have been somebody working in the county attorney's office, and they didn't remember it?
I only asked about Friday because that's when this came out. I didn't look at the 16th. But I'll be happy to go in and ask.
May I suggest that before we get memos or we give any credence to memos, that first of all, they be signed, the date, the who, what, when, where, why is listed, so that we have accurate information. Because as I said, I was starting to investigate this. I didn't know that Terry already had. But it seems like there are holes in the whole proposition here. Supposition.
Well, can we take a little break before we go into non-public?
Right.
Did you call for public comment, Madam Chair?
Yes. We did.
We have Joe, again, who would like public comment. He's been here the whole time.
Okay. Any other comments about your memos, David?
But I couldn't hear what Melissa said.
We have public comment. Joe Haas wants to make a statement again.
Who does?
man that spoke at the beginning of the meeting, he's been here all meeting. He'd like to say something.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, Mr. Hart, yep.
Are you all done with your memos?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there,
Well, how about, is the key situation in the mailbox straightened out?
Yes, we took care of it.
Melissa took care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now I had asked if there was any media questions, and we were talking about Damon's.
Yes.
And now, is there any public input? And apparently there is.
Okay. Joe was asking, what is the subsection for the non-public? So you haven't made that announcement yet. He's not on the phone. So I'm going to respond. The chair
Did you get Bonnie's letter?
will announce
No. Oh,
the reason in the motion.
I wanted to show, I have the two, I wanted to show you those two. I just pulled them out and I don't know what I did with them.
Is he okay with that?
Yeah, he hasn't said anything else. I just let him know that you would be announcing the reasons for non-public.
Okay, do you know, one is employees.
Yep.
What was yours under?
I think mine and the other one that was requested are both under C for reputation probably because they don't deal directly with any hiring or discipline or anything like that.
Okay, I make a motion, we go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, 2C. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
I'll second it.
And I think there's probably 3 of those sections. Could we have a roll call, please?
Madam Chair, are there 3 separate sessions you're doing, or is it just one?
No, there's 3 separate sessions all under that one heading.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Babson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bevard.
Yes. And we'll take a 5-minute recess, please. Okay, I make a motion, we come out of non-public and we seal minutes from sections 1, 2, and 3.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 4:25.
Is there anything else for us? I'll wait a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. We're adjourned.